Principal Auditor, Ricardo Dallin, Principal Auditor, and Wendell Edwards, Director of Audit. Thank you.
Ms. Blake, I see your name tag here with Mr. Barrington's name tag too. I don't know why they're there, but just introduce yourself and the other members from the Ministry of Finance.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hope Blake, Deputy Financial Secretary. On my right is Jovel Barrett. He's the Chief Public Procurement Policy Officer. And on my left is Barrington Thomas, the Principal Director, Financial Management.
Okay. Mr. Green, Permanent Secretary, I'll invite you to introduce the ministry team, plus I see a number of staff from the University Hospital as well. Hold on, I don't know if your mic is on, check for me. No, it don't seem to be on. Or bring it closer to you so we can hear. Yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's on. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Good morning.
I think you're going to have to bring it closer to you because we're not hearing you well. Yeah.
All right, you're here.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
All right. Good morning again, Chairman. Good morning, members, Auditor General, and her staff. Good morning. With me this morning is a team from the Ministry of Health and Wellness and from the University Hospital. I have a very big team, Chairman, because I've asked the heads of department, some of who have never been here before, to come for the experience so that they can understand how serious.
So that they don't have to come back again.
Right, so they can understand how serious these matters are. But to my right is Mr. Lynch, who is the Chief Director in charge of planning and policy. From the Ministry of Health, to my left, Mr. Eric Hussein, who is the acting CEO of the University Hospital West Indies. Immediately behind me, we have the CMO, Dr. Jacqueline Bisesa Mackenzie. We have Commander Paul Wright. As well, behind me, we have Miss Birch, Kalian Birch, immediately behind me.
Well, if you want the others just to introduce themselves, that might be easier.
We'll just ask the others to
introduce themselves. Okay.
Yes, thank you very much, Chairman.
All right, can I just press your mic and just introduce yourself and indicate the position you hold and the entity that you're from. Yes.
Good morning. I'm Paulette Spencer-Smith, Executive Director, National Council on Drug Abuse.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm Giovanni Price, Attorney at Law and Data Protection Officer at the National Council on Drug Abuse.
Kimani Brightson, Senior Legal Officer, University Hospital of the West Indies.
Good morning. I'm Valasha Dover, Director of Financial Accounting, University Hospital.
Good morning. My name is Ainsworth Buckridge, Senior Director of Public Procurement, University Hospital of the West Indies.
Let's keep going.
Good morning. My name is Wyatt McLeod, Chief Audit Executive at the University Hospital of the West Indies.
Release your mic. Once you just press your mic, release it. So NCDA, just release your mic. Yeah, go ahead.
Morning, Michelle Davis, Director of Budget, Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Good morning, Angela Curtis Cox, Senior Director, Strategic Planning, Performance, Project Management at the University Hospital of the West Indies.
Morning, everyone.
It was on. Just bring it closer to you.
Morning, everyone. Maureen Golding, Chief Technical Director, Office of the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Good morning, everyone. I am Ored Clark, Program Manager for the Health Systems Training Program.
You're turning it off. Just go ahead. Press it. Hold on. Press it again. Don't turn it off now. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brendalyn Bennett Tomlinson. I'm the Audit Supervisor of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Release your mic once you're finished. Just turn it off.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle Walker, Chief Internal Auditor for the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Morning, everyone. Andre Wilshire, Senior Director, Program Development, Ministry of Health and Wellness.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a big team from both the ministry and the university hospital. How I intend to proceed, as we normally do, I'll ask the Auditor General to provide her summary. Oh, sorry. So you're going a little too fast. Minutes of the last meeting held on March 3rd, 2026. I assume the members have had an opportunity to look at the minutes, and please indicate if there are any corrections, omissions that you have picked up. If no, could I have a motion for the confirmation of the minutes? Moved by Member Cousins, seconded by Member Miller. Oh, Member Cousins, you can't move it. I'll just switch it around since you weren't here at the last meeting. So the confirmation moved by Member Miller, seconded by Member Cousins. All right. In terms of how we proceed, I'll ask the Auditor General to provide her summary. I'm starting with the University Hospital, a summary of the audits. I'll then invite the team from either the ministry or the university to respond. And then members, the way I intend to proceed, I will take the questions and comments by each finding. So I'll do finding 1, and then we discuss that. Once we've exhausted that, we go to finding 2 until we get to finding 7. And then after we have completed the university hospital, we can go to the other 2 issues, the HSSP program and also the Ministry of Health in terms of the appropriation accounts. So, Madam Auditor General, I'll invite you to start.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to hand over to Deputy Auditor General Non-Assurance Christopher here, who will introduce the matter for the ministry, for the university hospital. Thanks.
Thank you, Auditor General.
Just bring the mic closer to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Auditor General. Mr. Chairman, members of the Public Accounts Committee, good morning. This performance audit was undertaken in response to whistleblowers' concerns regarding the administration and management of certain operational activities at the University Hospital of the West Indies. The audit also represents the first in a series being conducted under the theme, Ensuring Value for Money in Public Health Procurement. The audit examined the hospital's procurement activities as to whether they achieve value for money and comply with the Government of Jamaica's Public Procurement Act, its related regulations, and also the procurement guidelines where applicable. The audit focused on public health procurement for hospital infrastructure, an area of significant public interest, given UHII's role in the delivery of healthcare services and the substantial public resources allocated to this function. We identified systemic weaknesses in the hospital's strategic management and procurement governance. In particular, the misuse of UHII's tax-exempt status resulted in estimated revenue losses of $23.1 million. Secondly, the practice of after-the-fact procurement, where the required procurement processes were completed after goods and services were obtained, which is contrary to the law. Thirdly, the preparation of key strategic and accountable documents with which means oversight and procurement planning. And fourthly, the non-submission of standard procurement documentation for audit review, which limit assurance that due process was followed. The audit concluded that these weaknesses expose the hospital to heightened risk of inefficiency, waste, and non-compliance, and undermine confidence in the integrity of its procurement operations. Management has indicated that corrective actions are being pursued to correct the deficiencies identified. The findings extend beyond isolated procedural lapses and instead point to long-standing governance and control deficiencies within UHWI's procurement environment. Mr. Chairman, I thank you and the members for your attention.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Green, I don't know if you're going to take it or Mr. Hossain, but.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Mr. Hossain will take it. As you know, the UHWI is managed by a board of directors. They manage their affairs.
Just bring the mic closer so Hansard can capture your comments.
Right, Mr. Hossain is the acting CEO of the UHWI. He is prepared to answer all the questions. Mr. Hossain, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Chair. I am acting in this position from January the 12th of this year. And just to say, Mr. Chair, we accept and acknowledge the findings of the Auditor General. The matters reported on in the Auditor General's report are a culmination of systemic weaknesses that have persisted for decades in the organization. And this is proven by even a report which was done in 2007, which highlighted similar weaknesses. Internally, we are therefore working to identify structural gaps while strengthening the hospital's accountability framework. Since the publication of the report, we have located 30 of the 29 of the 51 procurement files that we were unable to produce during the conduct of the initial audit exercise by the Auditor General. 28 of these files have already been presented to the Auditor General's Department for their audit and review. A standard operating procedure for public procurement is now being finalized for approval. Most, if not all of the cases highlighted by the Auditor General occurred as a result of breach of GOJ procurement guidelines and a lack of standard operating procedures combined with weak internal controls. The management of the UHWI is cooperating fully with the committees that were commissioned by the Ministry of Health and the UHWI Board of Management. These committees will present findings that will assist management to improve our internal process. The mandate of the UHWI Commission Committee, led by Ambassador Catherine Phipps, is to specifically highlight the operational gaps in the organization and report on the instances where the actions of our employees would have resulted in breach of the established procurement guidelines and regulations. These findings, in particular, will assist management to make determinations as it relates to liability and culpability. We have now completed a series of training in GOJ public procurement guidelines for all members of the public procurement unit, all members of the procurement and evaluation committees, all senior directors and managers. We will continue to provide training for our internal stakeholders to keep our staff up to date and current with GOJ guidelines on procurement. The matters concerning the misuse of the tax exemption status have been reported to both the police, MOCA, and fraud unit, and to Jamaica Customs Agency. We are cooperating fully with both entities and remain in open dialogue with their representatives in order to recover the revenue lost to the government of Jamaica. MOCA has requested statements from certain employees, and we are expecting the submission this week. Customs has already sent the result of one of the investigations, and we are awaiting the remaining results. In addition to these external agencies, the Integrity Commission is currently investigating some specific cases that were reported by the Auditor General. The team members of the Integrity Commission, which visited the UHWI, have officially sequestered the files related to the misuse of our tax exemption status, as well as the procurement files from civil work that were flagged by the AGD. We are currently awaiting those findings from the Integrity Commission. The contravening practice of initiating procurement processes after the delivery of goods or services have been discontinued. We have also discontinued the use of arrangements with private entities to bypass procurement guidelines and have discontinued the misuse of our tax exemption status by private entities. Through the development of robust standard operating procedure, improved accountability framework, and a change of culture through human resource development and training, we intend to eliminate the factors that could give rise to the reoccurrence of issues reported by the AGD in the first place. Through proper procurement planning and conformity to the
1 second, Mr. Hosing. I'm told they're not capturing you fully. If you want to hold the mic in your hand or bring it closer to you so that they can hear. Just bring it closer to you. So
okay. Might have to hold it.
No, that's better. That's better.
That's better. Through proper procurement planning and conformity to the Georgia guidelines on procurement, these issues will be alleviated completely. The audit for 2019 to 2020 is scheduled to recommence in April of this year. The audits for 2020 to 2025 were tendered and an audit firm was selected. Mr. Demel, a former partner at KPMG, was hired in January, the same time I was, to head our finance division, and one of his key deliverables is the completion of the audit.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Hosing. So, members, we're going to go by each finding, but before we get to the findings, and this is directed to the ministry, could you explain the governance structure related to the hospital? We know there may be a parallel governance with both the Ministry of Health and the university itself. We know the university hospital is unique in that it's a training institution. So could we start there by understanding where the Ministry of Health's oversight starts and stops with this particular institution?
Well, the University Hospital of the West Indies is governed by a board that is made up of representatives appointed by the minister or recommended for appointment by the minister, but majority of the members of the board are made up from the University of the West Indies itself. They manage their own affairs. It's a department of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, where we have oversight responsibility is to ensure that all the governance procedures are followed.
So is there, in addition to the board members, is there any direct reporting from the hospital to the university as other departments or agencies under the ministry would do, whether it be on a monthly or quarterly basis?
Not that I'm aware. They manage their own affairs, and our job is to ensure that they do what they're supposed to do in accordance with government guidelines.
The reason I'm probing on this issue, the issues that have been identified are systemic. I think Mr. Hosing saying going back decades. So my question would be, if you're to provide oversight and those issues were raised or brought to the attention of the ministry, why are we where we are? And were those issues brought to the attention of the ministry? And is there a structure that facilitates those issues coming to the attention of the ministry?
Yes, there's a structure. And when we were aware of the Auditor General's review of the processes of the University Hospital of the West Indies, we immediately involved ourselves in the exit interview with the UHW and the Auditor General. And we've had several discussions since that time to ensure that all the actions that have been found in breach are corrected where they can, and to put things in place to ensure that there's no recurrence on this.
All right. I know the individuals here are new to the positions, but for example, something that I would want to know, on the issue of procurement, what is the board's oversight in relation to procurement? Is it that procurement over a particular number has to be approved by the board, or can the CEO and the executive team go ahead and do that? That's important given the level of breaches that we have seen here. So, I would obviously want to know where the board's responsibility, this is the university's board now, would step in a scenario like this.
Okay, so the CEO can approve up to 3 million without it going to the public. The procurement committee for review. And
that is a procurement committee of the board, or is that the universities?
Of the university, as required by the government. And then from there, after a certain amount, it goes to the public procurement committee, which is the oversight body that deals with a large amount. And also there is an amount, I think 50 million, that it has to go to the cabinet.
Sorry, Chair. So Hussein is new.
I know.
But the reason why I ask him is because he would be familiar with what the ceilings are. So under a certain amount, the CEO and the team can make that decision. I'm not so sure what the threshold is for it to go to the board, but I would assume that figure is set by the board. And of course, anything over $100 million have to go to PP and then on to cabinet.
So at this stage, you wouldn't have the historic data to know whether the board established a particular as part of its internal control, a particular figure would require, and I'm just using a figure, would require board approval versus the CEO being allowed to proceed with procurement of that number.
I'm not aware of the ceiling, but I could find out.
That's important to know, just to understand, because we're going to get to the specific issues, but it's very clear that there is an absence of governance and accountability that runs throughout the entire report. And so we need to understand, and I raise it because I do appreciate the university as an institution appoints board members, but ministry also does. And while board members can flag and raise issues, there has to be some institutional mechanism for reporting from the hospital to the ministry on a periodic basis, so that those issues don't only arise because the Auditor General went in and did an audit. It means that we have years and years of breaches that would have gone undetected without an audit. And that just points to a total absence of proper governance and oversight. But there are a number of members who have raised. Member Brown first, then Member Miller, then Member Cuthbert.
Thank you very much.
And remember, we're just dealing with this issue first.
Yes. And I'm glad you started there, Chairman, because I had some questions around just the general oversight, Sir PS as well. I am referencing your letter, which you read from earlier, as it relates to the findings of the Auditor General and her team. And you reiterated in your opening remarks that, there would be an increased effort to provide oversight from the ministry. I want to associate myself with the comments from the chairman, because it is good and well that now that the findings have come to the fore, that the restorative, the corrective, the remedial actions and processes, reporting all the findings to the police, reporting it to the customs, putting in place procurement plan and all the like now. But we are seeing close to 8 years of flagrant procurement breaches. So I want to join the chairman to understand what is the institutional framework that the ministry has in place, not to put in place now, and that is good and well, but what is the institutional framework that the ministry has in place to give oversight, not just to the University of the West Indies, Hospital of the West Indies, but also to other agencies that come under your oversight remit, so that these breaches are not picked up when somebody whistleblowers, but that there is a systematic, ongoing, consistent oversight function and overview of the ministry in that. So I want you to tell me, what is the framework? Do you, for example, as PS, have any meetings with your head of the various agencies, your chairman of boards? Probably that's the minister's responsibility, but the different heads of entities on a monthly, quarterly, do you get reports from the different entities to yourselves or to your different officers? What is the framework? Because it is good and well, but when we look at all of the breaches, all of the findings that are here, it doesn't paint a good picture in terms of the ministry's oversight, even before we start to look at the University Hospital of the West Indies and deep dive into the issues that were defined. What exists now and what could have caused something as egregious of as all of these measures that we're about to discuss to have happened?
Thank you very much for that question, member. As I said before, the University Hospital of the West Indies manages their own affairs. No report, with the deepest of respect, that would come to the ministry would highlight the issues that were raised by the Auditor General. They do have an audit department that is supposed to conduct audits from time to time. Those reports of the internal audit department of the University Hospital should come to the permanent secretary when those reports are done. We do get the usual reports. They're supposed to provide a procurement plan. We are supposed to receive their operations plan and other matters related to a service level agreement that we're trying to put in place with all the agencies, the regions, the UWI and the Bellevue Hospital. All of that will be outlined in a service level agreement, which we are working to conclude.
Well, I must say, having heard that, it highlights an even more serious issue, that there has to be a review of the governance arrangements. Now, I know the hospital is funded both by the University of the West Indies, but I think the majority of the funding comes from the government of Jamaica, right, through the Ministry of Health. So if the current arrangement is that you get no reports from the university hospital, that is a deep flaw, given the amount. And I do remember somebody that have to look in the big yellow book to look at the allocation that is made to the university, but it's a significant, we're not talking about tens of millions, we're talking about billions, particularly I know on the capital side now with the works that are being done. So there has to be a review of those governance arrangements, because in essence, you are a sitting duck. You are being asked to hold an entity accountable for which you, in essence, don't get reports.
I'm not saying we shouldn't, I'm only there for a year.
I understand, but
none have come to me since May.
No, I understand, Pierce, but I'm saying if there was a mechanism where reports were coming, these issues would have hopefully been highlighted, resolved, and we wouldn't have to wait on whistleblowers who ask the Auditor General to go and do an audit. So something is wrong with the governance arrangements. It can't be that taxpayers are funding the hospital to the degree of billions of dollars, and there is no direct reporting between the hospital and the ministry. It can't be. And the minister appoints board members, yes, but board members alone, yes, they exercise oversight, but there has to be monthly, quarterly reports to the ministry so you can know what is happening. We are spending billions of dollars with zero oversight, and people can just go, this sounds like a runaway train, where somebody just on a frolic of their own can spend taxpayers' money like it's the Wild Wild West. It can't be so. So I know the minister set up some committee to look at the governance. Yeah. This has to be part of the terms of reference going forward. Now, I know you is unique, but let me ask you this. What arrangement exists, for example, in the other hospitals like KPH, Spanish Town, where the government has full and total responsibility from a governance perspective?
There's a board of directors that manages the affairs of those institutions. Each hospital will have a hospital management committee, which would report into the board, the regional board. And we do get the minutes of the board meetings on a monthly basis. A copy goes to the minister, a set comes to the permanent secretary. And whenever audits are done within those within the regions and those institutions, a copy of the audit report would be sent to the permanent secretary.
So the main difference between you and the other hospitals is that they fall under the regional health authority structure, but UWI would not because it is
But
funded
UWI has
by
a board. Has a board that comprises membership of the University of West Indies itself. I believe they have the majority. And then
could you tell me, in terms of the composition, how many are appointed by the university versus how many are appointed by the ministry? And in terms of the chair of the board, is it the ministry that appoints the chair or is it the university that appoints the chair?
The minister appoints the chair.
Okay. But do you know because the composition is important in terms of the sway of the balance of power between the university and the ministry?
I believe, and I stand to be corrected, Mr. Lynch, what to make? There are 10 members from the University of the West Indies, and I think 7 or 8 by the minister. 8 by the minister.
Okay, so the majority from the university and not the ministry. And could I ask you, in terms of I know you may not know the exact figures, but the funding that comes to the hospital, what is the breakdown between what the university provides versus what the government of Jamaica provides?
The government provides 68% of the budget.
68% of the budget.
Yeah.
So the membership should reflect that and not have the university have the majority of the board. That has to be a part of the review of the governance arrangements going forward.
Indeed.
And even the university itself is also heavily funded by the government of Jamaica too.
Yeah.
So, even if you extrapolate it, it may be more than the 68% if you add the government's total contribution. Sorry, AG, you wanted to just intervene on a matter? Sorry.
I want to concur with PS Green regarding the structure that is required. The Public Bodies Management and Accountability Act requires that there must be monthly, quarterly, and annual reporting to the ministry by the university, by the public body. But I want to say to you, Mr. Chairman, that alone is not sufficient. I would posit that the findings of this report would not have made its way to those reports based on the framework that is provided for those reports in the schedule to the Public Bodies Management and Accountability Act. I think this requires something far more. It requires the ministry engaged 2 consultants in the past to do a strategic review, to do transformational review, to do operational and turnaround review. We didn't see anything happening with those. This is hitting really at the heart of the control environment of the ministry. And Section 6 of the Public Bodies Management and Accountability Act actually places the responsibility on the board to create a control environment to ensure that the necessary systems are in place to protect resources of the government by and large. So it's my view that the hospital will have to do a serious look, not also on its hiring practices, because the control environment starts there. Who is put in a particular position? Ensure that you have the best fit for the position, and that ethical conduct is at the heart of the operations of the environment. It's obvious that let me not say it's obvious, it's just my view based on the pervasiveness of the issues reported here. We just identified a small fraction. We have all the reasons to believe that this had been happening a long time ago, so much so that I believe that the members of the university hospital may have become desensitized on this and probably not even recognize what was happening was not right, because some may have inherited, continued it. So a culture change I think is also required. But Chair, the annual, the quarterly, and the reporting, that alone will not,
Would not have captured,
address these
no.
issues and would not have captured these issues.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Member Brown had a follow-up, then Member Cuthbert. Then.
Yeah, I'm grateful for the intervention of the AG on that, and I widen and support the broader call for a systemic overview and review of the internal controls. So I don't know, Chairman, if I move now to ask, and I guess he's new, so the CEO of the hospital in terms of like internal audit, because the AG indicates that the quarterly, monthly, mandatory reports that would be required to share from the board to the ministry will not have allowed for the hospital to capture. And bear in mind that these are not just procurement issues, because we are going to deep dive in others. There are issues, as a PS raised, in terms of the strategic hiring of consultants, the issue of missed deadlines as it relates to audited financials and those sort of. So there is a wider set of issues outside of just procurement. The procurement may be a little more glaring, but CEO, in your capacity as the new CEO, what is the internal audit framework of the University Hospital of the West Indies that is in place or has been in place that you came and saw? And you say, if you came and saw nothing, that's fine. But what is the internal audit framework that is in place that clearly, I believe, should capture those things and bring to the attention of the leadership of the hospital management to ensure that these breaches would not have happened, or there is an absence of internal audit oversight within the university hospital itself?
Okay, just to add to what the Auditor General said, that even the report that comes to the board would not capture a lot of what you have seen here, the breaches that you have seen, because the reports that come would certainly not include all of this detail and the information. There is an internal audit department, and our chief internal auditor is here. The board, the current board, was appointed in October. It was the first meeting of the board, of this current board. There has been
October of
2025.
2025? Okay.
2025 is when the new board met the first time. And after election, there would be a new board put in place, and the first meeting was in October. When you look back at the internal audit reports, some of the findings of the Auditor General are in fact in those reports going back a few years, not in the detail and not all, but some of it was in fact in those reports. And there has been some challenges in terms of seeing the actions that should have been taken, that they were taken.
Well, I was going to ask, where's the chief internal, where is he or she?
Yeah, he's here.
He's here. If you could indicate for me how you operate, no, leave on your mic, turn it back on, how you operate, who you report to. I don't know how long you've been in the position, but it would be helpful for us to understand the size of your unit. Is it adequately staffed? The issues that came out of this report, were these issues flagged before, brought to the attention of the relevant, whether board, CEO, etc.?
Thank you, Chair. So the framework of the internal audit department has the structure has, I think, 7 or 8 members. It's headed by a CAE, 2 internal audit
Don't
managers.
say what a CA is. Not everybody going
Chief
to.
audit executive. 2,
You are the head of the department, right?
correct, Chairman. 2 audit managers.
How long have you been in the position?
2019, Chair.
Okay.
2 audit managers, 2 senior auditors, 2 auditors, and that's the structure. Currently, Chair, 2 posts is not filled at the moment, which are the 2 managers. Those are not filled. So the audit reports, the department reports to a subcommittee of the board called the audit committee, and that is chaired by a member of the board.
And can I ask, you've been there 6 years now, going 7. Some of the issues that came out of the report, were those captured by your department, and were those things that were sent and reported to the board?
Yes, Chair, they were captured by the department and reported to the board, but the board did not take action.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, Member Copperfin been waiting a long time.
I've asked all the questions, mainly what I wanted to ask.
Frank, all right.
That is a little bit unsettling for me. Just
hold on, Member Frank. Let's allow her, and then
yes.
after her.
Thank you, Chairman. Very unsettling, some of the things that I am actually hearing, and just from the internal audit now, as to what he said, that yes, these things were flagged, but nothing was done. The composition of the board, I think it's, as you said, it's 8 to 10 ratio. And what is concerning for me is that 68% of the budget comes from taxpayers. And it's almost as if there is nothing that, can be done, because the input from the minister, as far as the appointees for the board members, that there is really not a good structure that's in place. And for me, what I would want to find out is really, going forward, I'm really still not hearing about going forward, what will be the different structure that will be put in place to make sure that this doesn't happen again. Because now I'm hearing from the auditor, internal auditor, that even though this was caught and detected by the auditor, nothing was done. So what is going to be in place going forward so that this doesn't happen with 68% of taxpayers' money?
I mean, I would say, Member Copperfin, some of those decisions need to be taken at the executive level of the government in terms of how it structures. I mean, to me, it can't be acceptable that 68% of the budget, and my analysis, it probably is more, because the government funds the university to a significant degree. So it would be more that in general corporate governance, the majority funders or majority owners tend to have the majority seat on a board. That's generally how it works. And while we know the university is a training institution and has a parallel reporting structure, there's clearly a need for change here, given where the funds are coming from, and the need to protect the interests of taxpayers' monies in this regard. But let me, Member Frank, go ahead. Why you don't turn off your mic. Go ahead, Member.
Thank you.
Bring the thing closer to you. So you can.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My understanding in respect of the work of the internal auditor, my understanding is not that you are there to audit and give a report. But I think the internal auditor, his or her position really is to look at the day-to-day transactions and to ensure that you can mitigate against what we are seeing or what we are hearing now in terms of the findings. So for me, I'm kind of trying to understand when you say that you reported, you will have captured some of these situations and you would have reported. But I believe that the internal audit is to look at the
transactions they go through the various departments and to mitigate against what we are seeing here today. I would love for you to give some direction in relation to that.
I mean, he can identify, make recommendations, but he can't implement.
No, I'm saying you're right. So if you identify a problem, there's something wrong with a particular transaction, and you're identifying as the internal auditor, then that transaction should not have gone through. So they're here today looking at.
No, generally, and I'll allow him to explain.
No,
but generally,
the internal auditor who sits in the ministry.
No, I'll allow them, but my understanding is their processes tend to be post facto, after the fact. So he wouldn't be able to.
That's not my understanding. And that's
all right, I'll invite the CEO to
You
answer.
are correct, Chair. That's exactly how it works. It is after that the auditors would come in to do their work, to review what has taken place over a past time period. Also, what you'll find, some reason why some of these transactions would not have been picked up by the internal audit department is that they took place outside of the university. So the use of like the tax status, the tax-free status, was not processed internally.
Well, you're opening up a can of worms that you can't really close. You're going to have to elaborate on that.
That's exactly the point.
I was going to, I'm waiting to go issue by issue, so let me wait on that. But that is, when we get to that particular issue, I'll invite you to elaborate on that. But Mr. Internal Auditor, if you could just explain for the benefit of the committee how you operate, how your department operates in relation to, what happens at the hospital.
Thank you, Chair. So at the beginning of each year, we do an annual risk assessment, and that risk assessment is underpinned by the various risk factors that the hospital would have. So we do that assessment, put in a risk framework, do the assessment, and prioritize areas that we will do our assurance work during the calendar year. That will go to the board, the subcommittee of the board called the audit committee. They will review it. It will also go to the CEO, which is the head of the entity, for review. And once they sign off on that work program, we will execute according to that work program for the entire year and provide quarterly reports to the board, which is the audit committee. So each assurance work that we do, Chairman, that we would provide a report, do a reporting to the CEO and to the audit committee of the board, and each quarter they will review it, those findings, and whatever. My work really stops at that point. It's the duty and function of the audit committee to call in various heads of departments and deal with those matters. I've reported the head of the entity and the audit committee chair. They are based on the government audit committee policy. They should action those issues that are in the report. And once they accept those issues and we make recommendation, they should implement them. And we will follow up on issues and we'll provide report to the CEO and the audit committee on whether or not those issues have been rectified.
All right, thank you. Member Miller and then Member Cousins.
Thank you, Chair. This message, this question for guidance from the Auditor General. In terms of procurement limits, could you guide me as how what's the amount that goes to a procurement committee versus cabinet versus the board, whether or not this falls within procurement policy as you have seen with the University of West Indies, or they have a different limit? Just for guidance, what exists with the procurement policy versus the board?
I know it really shouldn't be you. I was going to ask Ministry of Finance, Ms. Blake or your designate to answer that question for me.
The Chair.
Good morning, everybody.
Just indicate your name and your position.
My name is Jovel Barrett. I'm the Chief Public Procurement Policy Officer at the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service. The procurement committee inside of the entity, the limit that is set is set by the head of entity. The practice is for that limit to be anything above the single source completion threshold, which for goods and services is $3 million. So anything above that goes to the procurement committee.
Sorry, just for clarity, make the distinction between procurement committee of an entity versus the government's public procurement committee. Huh?
Right. So internally in an entity, you have a procurement committee which has the mandate of reviewing and making recommendations to the head of entity as to whether or not it should or should not approve a procurement contract. Separately, you have the Public Procurement Commission, which approves contract above $60 million. All right. So you have the procurement committee inside the entity. What they review is dependent on what the head of entity says they should review. The general practice is that they review anything above the single source completion threshold, which is $3 million for goods and services and $5 million for works contracts. Now, the head of entity can approve a contract up to $60 million. If the contract amount is above $60 million but less than $100 million, then that contract needs the approval as well of the Public Procurement Commission. Above $100 million, the contract would need the approval of the head of entity, the Public Procurement Commission, and the Cabinet of Jamaica. So those are the relevant limits.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Pierce.
If I might, just to further that question, some entities, depending on the risk factor, would set thresholds between the $5 million and the $60 million. For example, where I worked before, anything over $30 million must go to the board for approval. And at the end of every month.
But that is determined by the entity itself.
Yes.
It's not uniform across the board.
No, because some people might say we live within the $60 million. And some entities might say, no, I want to get involved early. I want to probe early. I don't want any surprises. So I've worked in the institution, Ministry of Health, where the threshold has been much, much lower than that $60 million that Mr. Barrett spoke to.
All right. Ms. Miller.
Just a follow-up, Chair. What, in terms of UHWI, what is the board, what are the limits for the board at UHWI in terms of?
The UHWI follows the limits set by the government. So the limits that were explained by the Ministry of Finance just now is the procedure and the guidelines that we follow. We should follow.
So when does it go to the board? Because I remember earlier mentioned at what limit it goes to the board.
No, at this time, we only follow straight the government. We don't have a system whereby there's a limit to say it must go to the board. We are following what the government procurement guidelines dictate.
Very well.
All right, Member Cousins, then I see Member Hamilton and Morrison after.
Thank you, Chairman. The question is one of the same procedural line of argument. In terms of the minutes of the board meeting, just to be clear, the minutes of the board meeting are usually submitted to the region, you say, and the minister. So, for example, in a case where an issue is reported to the board, that would normally be captured in the minutes of the meeting. Should, ought to.
Yes, ma'am. Ought to, yeah.
Yeah, emphasis on ought to.
Yeah.
And these minutes of these meetings, how long would you keep them on record?
we would keep them for a long time because you can destroy the minutes, and the ministry would not be the only entity who would have the minutes. The minutes would originate from the particular department of the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
So where the minutes go to the region and the minister, and it comes to their attention, they're speculating that the issue arises from the minutes of the meeting and there's no action, then the region could have stepped in at that stage, or the minister, correct?
No, the region should have stepped in before. In case of a region, the region ought to have stepped in before, because we get the minutes of the regional boards.
Yes.
Just like we should get the minutes of the unit.
So it goes to the region and the minister. It misses the attention, or the region omits to peruse that minute thoroughly. But the minister who gets a copy of that report, when he looks at that report and he identifies that there's an issue that has not been addressed, what is the next step? What is the procedure from there?
Well, I can't speak for the minister.
Yeah.
But the minister have representatives on the board. He appoints the board members. He appoints the chairman. The permanent secretary has a representative on most boards.
You have an ex officio generally for most boards.
No. We have for most boards, the permanent secretary have a representative on the regional boards. The CMO is a member of the University Hospital Board by virtue of her being the chief medical officer of Jamaica. When things happen at the board meeting, it is a responsibility, if there is something of concern, for the chairman to speak to the minister. The minister appoints the chairman, for the chairman to speak to the minister. If there is a matter that is egregious or needs the minister's attention.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. And so, PS, so all road lead back to the minister.
I would not say that, because the minister cannot micromanage. The minister appoints a board. Ought to.
Yeah.
Ought to, because the board is chaired by somebody who is appointed by the minister. And naturally, if there is something egregious coming up, such as this matter, the board chairman immediately advised the minister. Pardon?
These matters, because I've met several issues.
There are several issues in this particular situation that would not necessarily have raised themselves to the board level.
Yeah.
You know, as the chief internal audit executive said, indeed, but the chief audit executive would conduct his audit in accordance with his plan. The audit committee is made up of the board members. The chief audit executive actually reports to the chairman of the audit committee with a dotted line to the CEO.
The chairman, who is a member of the board.
Yeah. Yes, the chairman of the audit committee is a member of the board. Yes, is a board committee.
Okay.
Right. So once the audit is completed, then he reports to he meets with the audit committee, and the matter is discussed. And he might not be a part of the board. He definitely is not a part of the board. Yeah. But what happens under normal circumstances is that on the minutes, on the agenda of the board, would be an item for reports from the audit committee, and the matter will be discussed there.
All right. That's all I wanted to get the procedure, because we're going to get into the meat of the matter later.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, member, I don't know if it's Hamilton. Yes, go ahead, member Hamilton.
Thanks, Chair. Based on what I'm hearing, I find that there are a number of irregularities and anomalies within the governance structure of the university. But one that stands out for me is the audit finding speaking to contracts that were approved by the CEO without documented evidence of evaluation or procurement committee review. And I wanted to find out whether the internal auditor ever highlighted any such irregularity, and whom did he report that to?
You heard the question, sir? All right, just repeat your question, member Hamilton.
There is an audit finding that states that contracts were approved by the CEO without documented evidence of evaluation or procurement committee review. And I wanted to find out if your department ever highlighted such an irregularity, and to whom did you make that report in that instance?
All right, thank you, member. Not the same instance, but in similar instances, because normally when we're doing those reviews, we would have looked in the minutes to see those contracts that were approved, and we had issues. We have highlighted issues in which we saw contracts that were completed, but we did not see them as ratified in the minutes. And it's in the audit findings, in the audit reports, and it is there, and nothing was done about it.
And submitted to whom?
All our audit reports are sent to the audit committee and the CEO. We have a dual reporting relationship where we report administratively to the CEO and functionally to the audit committee. So every quarter, Chair, the audit committee would get a report of all the audit activities for each quarter. And these will also be sent to the CEO for action. Thank you, member.
So you're saying that in that particular instance where the CEO, there's an issue with contract approval by the CEO, that such a report was also sent to the CEO for action?
Not specifically speaking to that particular issues. I'm saying, member, that were similar issues.
But that is what you're saying would happen when you have a report about an irregularity. It goes to the CEO and the chairman of the audit committee of the board.
Yes, member.
For action to be taken.
Yes, member.
Member Morrison.
Thank you, Chair. Sometimes the public, they are watching the PAC, and sometimes they need to follow closely, and I'm going to ensure that they follow. We are looking at audit findings here. And just let me highlight a few, and this is for the interest of those watching. Procurement documentation not provided for 51 of 11 contracts, of 111 contracts. Contracts approved by CEO without documented evidence of evaluation or procurement committee review. Procurement processes conducted after delivery of goods and services. Retrospective bidding used to support completed works. Contract splitting used to fall below procurement thresholds. Direct contracting used for approximately 64% of procurement activities. So this strikes me, Chairman, as a cocktail of inefficiency, and which, of course, I'm of the view, created the facility for all of these breaches. Now, let us look at management's response, which I am of the view...
Just procedurally,
right.
Before you came in, what I intended to do was go through them one by one.
Hold on, Chair.
Yeah.
Allow me. I'm getting there. I'm of the view that the management's response in this instance is somewhat in parts incongruous. 28 missing files, located, efforts ongoing to locate missing files, instructions issued to discontinue identified practices, and so on. What were the consequent actions pertinent to these breaches identified in the audit findings, and who is complicit and or culpable, and what is the head of procurement saying in these matters? Thank you.
Well, I'll invite the acting CEO to comment, and as he said, he's new to the position, but he can.
That's fine.
But the team is here that can support him.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, member. I did state in my opening remarks, I'm not sure if you were here, that there is a committee formed by the board, the Catherine Phipps Committee, that is investigating the matters related to the Auditor General's report and to identify staff members who may be liable or culpable in the instances, and then make recommendation as to the actions that should be taken. There is also the police and the customs who are involved, along with the Integrity Commission, who are doing their investigation to identify where there may be anything related to any illegal practice and to take the necessary action. So we are awaiting those response. As I explained, Mr. Chair, we have received one report only from customs to date, and they have said they will be coming to us with the others. And we received that just on Friday of last week, sorry. So there are things being put in place, and we have changed a lot of the procedures. We have done some training for the staff, a serious amount of training during that time, and we have issued letters to persons to cease and desist from certain activities.
All right, members, we have spent about an hour and 15 minutes just on the. No, man, I asked many pertinent questions that were on your mind, right? And I could read your mind. What I want to go to know, I wanted to go to the specific findings, but you have a question. Okay, go ahead.
I just wanted a follow-up on the audit findings on procurement documentation not provided for 51 of the 111 contracts. Were any of those found since this 29 of the 51 were you found those?
Member Flynn, the whole, what I want to do, I'm going to get to it,
Right.
you know, but I could just go finding by finding. We're not rushing. There's no parliament, so we have all day.
I have another meeting.
Yeah, I know, but the reason I want to do it finding by finding, I don't want to go to 4, then come back to 1, etc. Make we go finding by finding. Trust me, we're going to go through every single one.
Yeah, but I think I'm not understanding how is it that the procurement head, as far as that's the system, there must be a system there. And how is it that documentation were not able
Just
to be
hold
found?
it. Yes, I have your concern too, you know. Believe you me, but I'm going to get to it. Let's just do the key finding number 1: absence of strategic documents and procurement planning. Now, I've seen in the management's response that reports for 26, 27, etc. have been done. Now, my question is, and the acting CEO may not know, but for those who would have worked there before, were there reports done for the last 10 years? Procurement reports, strategic plans, etc. before this? I see what is being done now, but what would have existed for 10, 15 years before this? And I don't know who can answer that question for me.
The records does not indicate that this was being consistently done. And in fact, for the period that the Auditor General reviewed, there were some that were done but were not properly approved. And so it was considered as not being done. And what we have done, however, is that the 26-27 has now gone through the procedures, the proper procedures of approval, and has been approved by the board for 26-27. The strategic plan, 26-27. The operational plan, the strategic plan, and the procurement plan have all gone through the necessary required procedure and have now been approved.
Can I ask, when was the last time an external audit was done of the university hospital?
The last one was done for 2018-2019. It was done by KPMG. The one currently being done that will, as I had mentioned, will recommence in April is for 2019-2020, and for 2020 to 2025 that was tendered, and firm has been selected, but we are awaiting the completion. Some work will take place on the 20 to 25, but we are awaiting the finalization of the 19 to 2020 in order to move forward.
And maybe Ministry of Finance, is it a requirement this should be an annual exercise for the external audits? We're going to come back to that because there are a number of public bodies that I know are very delinquent in terms of their annual reports and audited financials, but we have to pay attention to the ones where there are billions of dollars being spent. And this is one such case where we're spending billions of dollars. So let me ask members, any other questions on, yes, Member Brown, key finding 1.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I see where the Auditor General in the audit findings related to this particular one would have said that there was a failure to provide strategic plans despite having hired and paid 2 consultants, USD $186,000, or approximately 30 million, and she referenced it earlier on in her opening remarks. That that was paid out and they still can't find any document. I don't know if it should be directed to the CEO. I know you are new, but I know you have officers behind you. You have your full team here. What happened? How that go? Could you also name the consultants, the 2 consultants, and what their purview, what were their responsibility? Give an overview. $30 million were paid to 2 consultants, and the Auditor General can't find no reports or nothing. So could you give us an update as to what is happening? And if you could name who those consultants were and what they actually did.
Okay, there are 2 firms that were employed. One was to help with the strategic plan, and that contract was for approximately 90 million. And then of the 186, it was 50% of the contract for the other person was the other 90 million. Sorry, no, it's in total has been paid out is 186,000
US.
90,000. Sorry, 90,000 would have been paid to want to do the strategic plan, which was done. What could not be provided was the report from the second consultant, which in fact we have subsequently provided to the Auditor General and to the Ministry. They were contracted because their contract could not be located at the time, as well as we were able to obtain a preliminary report from them in February of this year, and also a copy of the contract. They signed the contract. So there was a contract but not signed. We were able to provide a copy of the signed contract and the preliminary report for the second. And the second one there to provide an operation plan as well as a turnaround plan for the hospital in terms of its viability from a financial standpoint, because at this moment it is not in the best shape.
So
yes.
So the signed contract was done after findings of Auditor General. That's what you're saying?
No, it was this
because you say you couldn't find it.
It was found after, but it was signed before the Auditor General's finding. But it wasn't presented. It was not presented. So it was there. What we are seeing, it was signed before, but it was not presented to the audit. The contract, the signed contract, was not presented to the Auditor General.
I think. Can the Auditor General respond to that, please? Because.
Or I just need a bit of clarification. What that was present, that was missing, that was found.
The signed contract.
Contract.
Yes.
Okay, so are we speaking about the contract or the strategic plans?
The strategic plan, as well as the 2 consultants who were hired.
Oh, the consultant. Right. So, okay, fine. All right. So let me speak about the strategic plan and the operational review, because we spoke about not seeing an approved strategic plan.
Yes.
So an entity was engaged to undertake a strategic review.
That's right.
And transformational review as well.
Yes.
No. One was
strategic and operational.
No, one was for operation and turnaround. One was for strategic and transformational. Yes. And produce a transformational plan. Yes. But that's not a strategic plan. Right. So we did not see the strategic plan. The colleague is letting me know the intent was to use the strategic review and transformational plan to inform the strategic plan, but we didn't see an approved strategic plan. No, for the operations review.
Sorry, just for clarity here, you use the word approved a couple of times. Is it that it existed but was not approved by the entity?
It was not approved by the board.
It wasn't approved by the board?
No.
But it existed?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So it's not
okay.
draft, but
Yeah.
no.
Okay, so there was a draft report.
The draft presented to the board, but the board did not accept it and did not approve it.
Okay. Okay.
But the second one,
The operations review
And the turnaround.
development of the turnaround plan. We have not seen the turnaround plan. We haven't seen that plan. But last week, we received a draft operations review document.
that is correct, along with the signed contract between us and the person.
Okay, so we were of the impression that the consultant failed to provide the document at the time that it should have been provided, but they submitted
last week
in February 2026.
So
That's my understanding.
let me, so I can be clear. There were two consultants engaged.
That's right.
One provided a plan which went to the board but was not approved by the board.
Strategic plan.
The strategy wasn't approved by the board, but they delivered something, but the board didn't sign off on it. The second one, you said the document itself was just provided 2 months ago, February, last month?
Last week.
And my understanding is that it was submitted, the draft, what we saw, a draft document that,
February.
right. And let's just put this into context because this contract was 2024 and the document should have, because as you know, a turnaround means that you need to address something. It should have been produced 4 months after we received it last.
Yeah, so the question is on the second one, was the consultant fully paid?
No. He has been paid 50%. So the first one, the total amount was approximately 90,000 US. On the second one, the total amount was approximately 180,000 US. So the first one was paid 90, and the second one was paid another 90, which comes up to about the 186,000. Now, so the second one has received half the payment. We were up to the time when I came, we had not received any report, but he provided us with an interim draft report.
Hold on, Mr. Hosing. When was he contracted, or she?
In 2024.
So it took 2 years and the Auditor General report.
End of 2024, sorry.
2 years and the Auditor General report to get a draft after him 50%.
50%.
Yeah, but it's 50% of his money.
Yes.
For the entity to get something?
That is correct here.
Really a joke.
Oh boy. All right. I just wanted to be clear, because that is crazy. That you could pay 50% almost 2 years, and only because the Auditor General goes in that he produces that report after getting 50% of money? Madness that.
Total madness.
Madness
I mean, it.
Yeah.
It points again to a broader systemic problem. Member Morrison would have raised the full listing.
Pull the mic closer to you.
Yes. Yeah. It points again to a fundamental problem, which I don't want to blame you or the hospital officers directly, but there is a need for. And as we deep dive into further things, because Chairman, we may have to come back.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of issues that are here. Needs to be fully ventilated, as Member Morrison is saying, so that the public understands it. But what is being painted is just, a free for all and a broad. Yes. Thank you.
I remember Miller.
I want to find out how often is their procurement committee in place? How often do they meet? And why is it that there was no procurement plan in place? And how the procurement committee went about approving contracts if you don't have records? So I don't know if you'll be able to help me or
Yes. The procurement committee meets every fortnight on a scheduled basis, but there are circumstances that may require them to meet even within that time period because of urgency of matter. they will, what is presented to them, anything over the 3 million threshold that the Ministry of Finance highlighted, would have to go and be reviewed by them. And that is what they use to operate. There are minutes of their meetings. There in the past, some were not, things as the auditors said, were not in the minutes because they were not presented to the procurement committee for review.
So how did the procurement committee go about approving the contract if documents weren't presented?
Well, they didn't approve anything. It didn't come to them, so they would not have approved or rejected anything.
So the procurement committee then just existed and met and did not approve anything?
No.
Let me understand.
No. There are circumstances, there are things highlighted by the Auditor General and by our internal audit where, in fact, items that were processed did not go through the proper procedure, which include a procurement committee having received it, reviewed it, and made a decision on it.
Very well. So the procurement committee then was circumvented in this process?
In some cases.
Very well.
All right, Member Corporate.
Yeah, I just want to I want to place on record, because we hear of these things too often about companies who are, hired to, do something. And when taxpayers' money is being spent, there's this disregard for taxpayers' money. And I just want to kind of put it out there that I hope that, and I hope we don't continue to see these things happening, especially with what we're finding now. And I know that we have seen this happen over and over again. And it is quite telling that people really don't see government spending as anything, important. And I guess they just take it as something simple as, oh, it's taxpayers' money, so it's free money. And it is, I really hope that going forward, systems are put in place where we're not just paying a company $90,000 US dollars, getting nothing for it, and it's just a brush off kind of a thing.
And a nothing.
I really hope that we wake from this dream. We really wake up from this going forward and not take taxpayers' money as some sort of a free money. We have to hold people accountable. We have to start holding people accountable. And that this is not, my taxpaying dollar is not free.
Fully agree with you. All right, I want to go to key finding number 2, non-compliance with Government of Jamaica JEP portal requirements for procurement. And I've seen the response. I see there was a circular dated June 3rd, 2023, but it seemed that circular was disregarded, and then there was a memoranda. I assume this date should be October 5th, 2025, 2026, right? But again, retrospectively. So my question, and the acting CEO may not be able to answer because you're new, but how can people be staff just disregard a requirement to use a portal, which is what's supposed to happen, and not happen? That's what I want to know. So if a CEO sends out memoranda in 2023 instructing people to follow the guidelines, use the portal, nothing is done, and it just goes so. No referral to HR, nothing written on a file, nothing. It just goes so. Who can guide this committee in answering that question?
I'm going to ask Mr. Ainsworth Buckridge, who is the Senior Director for Procurement, to provide a response.
Okay. Good morning again, Chairman.
Hmm.
What?
Can you say how long you've been in that post, sir?
Well, I've been in this post for approximately 10 years.
Okay.
I was moved, transferred to another department the 1st of February 2024 and reinstated the 2nd of February 2026.
Okay. All right. Go ahead and explain to us why this wasn't being followed, the portal requirements for procurement.
Well, since my return, I've realized that based on the audit findings, that the portal is to be used 100% of the time. So
was it being used any of the time?
Yes, it was being used. What was done, all procurement over 10 million was being used, uploaded to the portal. And so what we have done now...
Was it that there was a misunderstanding that things below 10 million didn't need to go on the portal?
For the most part, I think there was a misunderstanding in terms of...
All right, I'm going to allow him to, but you can hear from the members their concern about this. And the fact that even though it's over 10 million, it is a very small number of the transactions that were done that were actually uploaded to the portal. So what I'm trying to understand is what would be the issue that would prevent people from uploading to the portal, and then this must have been, somebody must have seen that this wasn't being done. What was being done to hold those persons accountable?
I think, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind, I think there was a lack of training and a lack of implementation of the policy, of the GOJ policy, which, as I've said from the beginning, Mr. Chair, that we are fully in agreement with the findings of the Auditor General. There has just been breaches after breaches and lack of implementation. And so they did not implement the policy as it should have been. We have now done that as of March 1. All, not some, all, no matter the size, must be on the portal and are being placed on the portal.
No, I appreciate it, Mr. Hosing, what you're doing going forward. I appreciate that. But I still need to understand why you said training and capacity. But I can't buy that because some of the transactions were being uploaded. So it's not that people never know, that people didn't know how to upload it. There's a reason people chose not to upload these transactions. And I need to know why. And in a scenario like this, how were people, what did people hold up their hand and say, well, I'm having a technical problem or nothing? And didn't somebody notice that these things weren't being done and say, listen, we must follow these GOJ requirements? That's because a circular was sent and basically ignored. And that's what I'm trying to understand. I appreciate what we're doing going forward, but we must understand what took place. And if something took place, what was done to correct it, etc. So I give you back the floor, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chair. From my understanding, the circular, the procurement unit was not aware of this particular circular at the time.
No, hold on. Let me read. Procurement department members were instructed to strictly follow the circular dated June 3rd, 2023. So what? The circular never reached the people?
I didn't understand that a while ago.
No, I'm reading what the management's response is.
I thought you mentioned the circular from the Ministry of...
Yes, the response of management. I'm reading management's response. The procurement department members were instructed to strictly follow the circular dated June 3rd, 2023. But So what? From 2023 onwards, we're fully compliant?
No, Mr. Chairman. I think what the Auditor General explained is that the compliance and the memo to them to state they must follow the guideline was sent to them after the Auditor General had finished their work. They were being
So
told
they never saw this before?
they were not practicing it. Some were saying they never knew of it. And
So that's what I want to know. So if that's so you're saying, sir, that why you keep turning off your mic? Keep on your mic. You're saying that the staff in the procurement department were not aware of this requirement before the Auditor General came in?
Yes.
That's what you're saying?
Yes.
Sorry. All right. The finance officer here. So you're saying the procurement department only became aware of the need to do this after the Auditor General's report?
Yes, sir.
Why this get bizarre and bizarre and bizarre. But hold on before I come to you. Miss Blake, you have to help me as Ministry of Finance. This would be a circular which comes from the Ministry of Finance, which is sent to each ministry to be sent to each department, agency under the purview of each ministry, right? The U is a big entity. It's not a party shop. It's not a little 1 and 2 shilling you spend. And you're going to say that nobody in the they were using it in 2021? So
how we started to use it, sir? We went on a training.
When?
In 2021. And we were told that there were 5 organizations that were being used as a pilot project.
Okay.
As it relates to GoJeb. And that is when we said we would start to use the even though we were not a part of that pilot, we had made a decision internally to start to use the system with 10 million and above.
So that decision was made by what? The procurement department?
The procurement department, sir.
From 2021?
Yes.
So everything from 2021 going forward, you would have been compliant with everything 10 million or
10
more?
million and above, sir.
So even with that, the number, so all is 20 of 800? 800. So everything that was not put up was below 10 million? Couldn't be. It's only 20 of 800 transactions were uploaded to the portal. And you say you're doing 10 million or more. Is it that these 780 were below 10 million?
We do, yes, sir.
Yeah?
Because we do a lot of,
You sure? Make sure if you're not sure.
Well, I would have to have the empirical data.
Yes, if you're not sure, don't say that, because
So
that don't sound right to me. That can't be right. Sorry, Miss Blake, I just want your intervention or somebody from your team in terms of when this portal was implemented and how the communication took place to the ministries, agencies, and departments. Just press your mic. So,
Right. Morning again. So we did have a pilot. So the system came about in around 2016. We did have a pilot. And in 2023, we would have issued a guidance note indicating that it is mandatory, which was also followed up by a circular sent to all the public bodies, ministries, departments, and agencies. The Office of Public Procurement Policy would have also conducted training with public bodies regarding the use of GoJeb. And I'm aware that a number of entities, they're using the platform, but they're not using it fully, right? And I know that the University Hospital of the West Indies has been using the platform, though not fully, in the sense that you're required to use the platform to advertise your procurements and then to close out your procurement and publish a contract award notice so that the public can see what contracts you are letting. What some entities do is they use it to advertise, but do not go back into the system and close out the contract so that the public can be notified of the award of contracts. But we would have conducted training over the years since 2023 to know, and we send out blasts from time to time to entities on our mailing list, and University Hospital of the West Indies would be on that.
Well, let me ask you, because it's a systemic issue, and who monitors whether this spends millions of dollars putting in a system like this? Is it that each ministry through the PS has the responsibility to monitor and determine whether there's compliance with this, or does that sit somewhere else? Because hospital is not the only entity that would not be compliant. So to what extent would you be able to say what the overall compliance is in the public sector with this system?
Right. So the Office of Public Procurement Policy controls the GoJEP platform. And so we can see who use and who do not use the system. I can provide you with the exact data in terms of what the compliance level is. I mean, I can tell you though that it is the closeout of the contracts is low. The rate of usage is higher, but the closeout is low. But I can provide you with the exact data. What I would say though is that Section 19 of the Public Procurement Act makes clear that the head of entity has the responsibility of ensuring that there's compliance with the Act, regulations, and administrative guidance that comes from the Office of Public Procurement Policy.
That's something I would like you, as a follow-up to the meeting, to provide that, because this goes to the heart of accountability. Taxpayers need to know how their funds are being spent. Once a procurement goes out, it is advertised, and then you need to know you have awarded a contract. We need to know who the contract was awarded to for and for how much. That's the heart of accountability and governance. So you're basically saying that started in 2021, but again, I would like you as a follow-up, I don't want you to guess and spell, get the information from me, because what the report says is 20 out of 800, which is unacceptably low, and I can't accept that all of those 780 transactions would have been below 10 million, which would necessitate them not being uploaded. So get that data and provide it to the committee as a follow-up.
Okay, Chair.
Yes,
just a follow-up. He did say though, Mr. Barrett, did you say the training for GoJEB was in 2023?
16.
I mean, we would have started before that, and it continued from year to year. So usually the Office of Public Procurement Policy would have trainings, particularly in the summers. We have summer series. In 2024, we had an Elevate Procurement Conference that had a lot of training around various aspects of public procurement.
And what was the amount that you would have to go on GoJEB for? Because I just did something as a member of parliament, and it was $5 million, and they had to go on the site.
So
I'm trying to understand, of the 20 that were published, does that mean then the 780 were below $5 million?
Right. So there's a requirement for using the GoJEB platform for anything above 1.5 million Jamaican dollars. For amounts below that, you are encouraged to use it, but it's not mandatory. But for anything above 1.5 million Jamaican dollars, there's a requirement for the system to be used.
So that's even crazier, because that means the University of the West Indies was purchasing stuff for below $1.5 million. Am I understanding correctly?
Well, the question I would ask is where the 10 million figure came from, that you decided you'd use 10 million and above, given that the government's requirement is 1.5 million.
Right.
So where did that figure come from? Somebody
Exactly.
just pull it out of the ear? No, let me just ask, because maybe there's some rationale for the 10 million figure.
Okay, the rationale for the 10 million, it was an internal decision because of the training department.
So the department made a decision. Was that sanctioned by the board or anybody?
To my
management?
to my understanding, at the time, it was mandated. 5 organizations, if I could remember, were doing the pilot project with GoJep. So we at the time, it was still a pilot project, but we at the time feel that we, in terms of learning the system, so when everything come on mainstream, the department would be of fair without to monitor the system, and that is how that 10 million came into being.
So basically, a decision was taken to circumvent the system. I mean, that's what it is. Because no, but you can't tell me no if it's only 20 out of 800 transactions were uploaded. Well, Health Auditor General is wrong.
All right, so my understanding, Mr. Chairman, as the procurement director said, in 2021, they were invited to participate in the training for the GoJep, how to use the system. The circular did not come into being until 2023, but the requirements, the mandatory upload of all procurement came in 2023. So in 2021, the UHWI participated in the training and they took the initiative. They were not required to upload to GoJep. They took the initiative to upload and so that they would start with procurements at $10 million and above. What they failed to do was actually in 2023, and I can't speak to about their knowledge of the circular, but I know that they received training at some point in time in terms of how to use the system. They never went and adjusted the policy that they had implemented. So they never transitioned from the pilot into and to regularize the adoption of the requirements of the ministry.
I hear you.
Because I think they were doing it ad hoc. That's what we saw. They were just doing it ad hoc because they did not embed it in their control and governance process, which is what needs to be done.
That is correct, Auditor General.
Oh boy. All right, thank you. Again, so your follow-up is to provide for us a report once you get the facts as to the 780 transactions that were not uploaded, what size those were, and why those were not uploaded.
Okay, Chairman.
All right. I go into key finding 3, which must be the most egregious of them. So somebody have to explain this. The absence of procurement documentation. The University Hospital of the West Indies could not provide procurement documentation for 51 contracts. However, since then, 28 files valued at 269 million have been found, which means that we can find 22 and 1 is incomplete. So, and that the 22 that can be found is 246 million and 1 incomplete is 18 million. So again, just explain to us as a committee, when a procurement is completed, what is the process to put that document, whether it's physical storage, online on a server? Just explain that process to me. Because this, well, I'm starting with the acting CEO and you can delegate. This one to me is the worst one. That you just can't find documents. Even after the Auditor General has been in, you have found about half of them. And obviously you've been looking for the rest and you can't find them. So help us, Mr. Hosing.
The member asked, where were they? When I took up the position, I insisted that they must find them. And they were able to locate the 28, and then after submitting those 28, they found 1 more, make it 29. They have so far been unable to locate anymore. They were in storage in a story room, but it was never provided to the auditors. When they came, even after requesting it, they did not provide it to them. But I insisted that they should. I don't think there was I wasn't there, so I can't tell you that it was resistance or what, member. It could have been, not lack of diligence and searching and insistence, but they were able to locate some. The search continues, but it is so far has not proven any further success other than the 29.
So what is the standard operating procedure? I love this term. For when a procurement is complete, where those documents should be stored, clearly for audit purposes, for both internal and your external auditor, you have to keep your documentation, where those documents should be held, etc. What is that procedure?
I'll ask Mr. Buckley just to share with the
Yes.
meeting.
Turn on back your mic.
Yes, Chair. The standard operating procedure is that each document, procurement activity, or file is filed in a file folder and placed in a hard binder, and then transferred to a storage area where it can be retrieved. Upon my return to the unit, upon my return to the unit, I realized that this practice wasn't being followed. Hence, the reason why these files could not be located. And
so where would those files have been?
those files should have been in a storage area. My understanding is that that area was flooded at least twice or three times based on heavy rainfall. That was my understanding.
Can you be more specific? Was that when? What were the dates up? Because let me tell you, you know why this one is more serious? We don't know whether you're not even in a position to make an assessment. And I don't want to conclude that it is deliberate, because I don't know. But given everything that we have seen, you could infer that. But to say there were 3 cases of flooding, when were those 3 cases of flooding? Because it's the first time we're hearing that. I don't know if that was shared with the Auditor General's department. And if you are storing files in a place that flood out easy, you know, move it somewhere else, if that is the case. But help me on that one. Because tell me when those flooding took place and whether those were reported to the board, to the internal audit committee, etc. Was there a request for removal to a different storage area? I need to know that.
And do they have basements?
Well, let me ask him. Go ahead. So the three flooding out. Tell me when those took place. No, he said there were 3 cases of flooding. No, but help us there.
Okay, so that was my understanding, that the area was flooded.
When?
I didn't get the specific. I'm not aware of the specific. But
These-
while I was not there, I understand that the area was flooded.
No, so all right. Is there anybody who can, because this is the first, this wasn't reported to the Auditor General when she did her review. So it's the first we're hearing this issue of flooding. So I would like, as part of your report, to tell us specifically when the flooding took place and whether when those incidents took place, whether management was informed, whether a corrective thing was put in place, whether flooding from the roof, the floor, whatever, to mitigate against that. We could never accept that 50% of documents valuing $280 million can be found because of flooding. Because of flooding? I mean, you haven't even asked the ones you have found yet to determine whether they're following proper procedure.
If there was flooding, how come they found some?
Well, it help. Who can help us with that? Internal auditor? You can help us with that? Because, yes, some were found 28 were found. So it must be from the same era of flood out, where you find the 28. So why can't the other 22 be found? Mr. Internal Auditor, help us here. We're, again, in conducting, you have to release your mic so I can turn on his. In conducting your internal, is that an issue which you identified and brought to the attention of the audit committee of the board or the CEO?
Thank you, Chair. Just for context.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just for context, the internal audit function had done 6 reviews of procurement section, and the issue of documentation not being found is institutionalized. It is systemic. We have done review of it, and on several occasions, we'd asked them to put in systems in place to mitigate against that. And it is in the internal audit reports, and since recently, they have done something about it in terms of the management has put something in place, and we have reviewed that.
What has management put in place?
They have put in, as the senior director had said, filing cabinets, and
filing cabinets
and hard folders. We had looked at them just recently, Chair, right? But it has been institutionalized over a long period of time, and we have reviewed them and report them to the audit committee, and that is where it ends, Chair.
No, hold on. Help me again, because you are saying people put in place filing cabinet.
Yes, Chair.
Me have that in my yard, you know. Me have that in my yard. You can't tell me that the University Hospital at the West Indies that spend billions of taxpayers' money just put in place filing cabinet?
Yes, Chair. Yes,
no,
Chair.
Man,
filing cabinets and hard folders.
Cabinets and hard folders?
Yes, Chair.
So what existed before?
Right. So, Chair, those recent procurement activity, the board, which is the audit committee, had asked the internal audit.
Those are big money. And of the 521 here is 431. 83% is those 8.
Thank you, member. The details, I would have to put that together and submit to this committee at another time. But we do have the information.
All right.
But
yes,
not with me now, but we can really provide with the details of it.
I wanted to just probe a little more. I know you may not have the specific data in front of you, but are these the 8? Are these maintenance providers that deal with AC, elevator, things that may break down in a hospital that require immediate action? Are you in a position to say?
It says services, work, goods, so it may span.
Not all, and in fact, some were consulting services.
There you go. There you go.
So
and through your chair, I did not get the name of the 2 consultants with the one of the 86,000.
For the strategic plan and
which we post. Yeah. Who are those?
The one that was recently provided, it was William Pragmatic Limited. They are from a firm of consultants, I believe, from Canada.
From Canada.
And what about the other one, the strategic plan?
The one that wasn't accepted.
No, that's the one. The first one provided a draft strategic plan that was rejected by the board. That one is strategic alignment. So they provided a report, but the board did not accept that strategic plan.
That's a Canadian company as well, strategic alignment. Is that a Canadian company as well? Or?
No, I'm not sure of that. I think they are local, but I'm not sure. I can confirm. But what I do have is the second one, William Pragmatic. They're out of Canada. They provided a draft report, interim report, and there are several things that they require to complete, they say, their work.
All right. So So you will provide the 8, that
And
431.
a breakdown of the 431.
The name of the 8, the values beside it, whether they were beneficiaries, the method of awarding for each, as well as the particular service or work or good
that provided.
Yes, I have a team recording that. So if you don't see me writing, the team.
Yeah, we will follow up because that's one of our follow-ups that we would need. Yeah.
Okay.
So the other final thing on this, there was a value of $681 million for consultants as well. Consultants for hiring consultants and other related types of services associated with consultants. I take it probably would not have those names can share or a breakdown of that, because these are in the context of 64% direct awarding, in the context of missing documents, in the context of flagrant procurement breaches. It would be good because, the country, with this issue, the country has been hearing, references to only one named entity and a lot of the stuff. So we want to, I know the AG department can't tell us the names of all of these things. And we are going to another issue where we need to get all the names. All the names are out there. So again, 681 million for consultants and procurement around that based on the statement coming out of the findings of the AG. We would be certainly myself would be very happy to get those.
The committee is requesting that from the University Hospital, that they provide a breakdown of the 600 million, who it was provided to, for what services, and the amount for each. Same thing with the 8 companies that got the 431 million, what services are provided, and how much for each as well.
I will do my best to provide you with the detail. As you will appreciate, some of these things under investigation by the police and by customs, and so we'd want them to complete that to confirm certain things before we go on.
I know, but all we are asking for is we accept them in other entities doing work, but in cases where public funds are spent, the public has a right to know how those monies were spent. And that's all. That's all we are asking. Yeah, we are requesting that. Yeah. All right. I see Member Miller, Member Cuthbertson, and Member Cousins. Oh, Member Morrison. All right, Member Miller, then Member Morrison.
It is to the PS. The procurement committee, would you agree with me that the procurement department or committee operates in a very laissez-faire way? And the head of procurement has been there for, 10 years? But yet still we're seeing so many breaches, not using the GoJEP, files are not being stored. Doesn't that concern you, that procedures are not being followed, way they operate? Doesn't that concern you?
Yes, it does concern me.
What has been done, having taken up the portfolio, what has been done to correct that? Because we hear that it is systematic. The head of procurement has been there 10 years. He mentioned that he was removed and brought back. Is it that he was doing such a great job while he was removed? Or why is it that he was brought back for a particular reason?
I could not answer that question. I'm not involved in the day-to-day operations of the University Hospital of the West Indies. And they report to a board. The CEO reports to a board. So that those questions are best directed that way. But to answer your question, I'm not satisfied.
Well, probably the CEO
the
is
question was
better
directed to me, so maybe the CEO can.
able to assist me.
Mr. Buckridge was reassigned in 2025, early 2025. He was returned to his position in February of 2026. You're asking why he was reassigned. I think they were hoping for him to be a part of a team to deal with digitization of records and so on. He was brought back in 2020 as a reassignment did not follow the correct HR procedure, and therefore we had to correct that because of that problem. It is in his return that we were able to find the 2829 files, having him to lead search and to get that. So the Catherine Phipps committee, engaged by the board, is looking at all employees to determine where they are to be held accountable and what is recommendation. The committee is made up of lawyers, HR practitioners, very senior levels, and they are doing that. They are expected to provide the board with a report by June of this year. So in another 2 months, we are expecting the report, 2 months plus. We're expecting that report, and from there, if depending on what they say, we will take the necessary actions along with the police who are doing their investigation, and they are doing asked for statements, and they are planning to do interviews. We were told just yesterday.
I do hope that somebody is held accountable for this, because those gaps that we're seeing, it doesn't sit well with me, nor the public, who an entity such as UHWI should be operating at a particular standard. So I do hope that report doesn't go missing like all the other documents.
I can assure you, I'm a part of the board, and I can assure you that we are taking the engagement of a very well-known and very capable person as Catherine Phipps and the members of that committee, an indication of the seriousness with which the board is taking this matter, but we want to follow the correct HR process to ensure that we are doing it correctly and not get ourselves into any trouble at any other levels.
This question is for Mr. Buckridge. My apologies. Prior to your removal, were the documents kept in the same place when you returned? All your documentation, were they stored at the same location?
1 second, somebody has to release a mic so I can turn on his. Yes.
Okay. Let me just add some context to that, Chair. Files were being kept in filing cabinets, and when those filing cabinets were filled, they were transferred into a storage room that has shelves on them. So we have always been using filing cabinets. And then, so the most recent files are kept in filing cabinets. So based upon my return now, when the process was not being kept.
So between when you left in 2023, you left in 2025?
Yes, early 2025, and returned in February 2026.
And returned 2026. So within that 1 year gap, that 1 year period, processes were not followed, you're saying?
Yes.
Very well.
All right, Member Morrison.
Thank you, Chair. Chairman, we are talking about 22 procurement files with contracts valued at over 246 million, not found, appears to have vanished. Chairman, earlier you, and I'm going to paraphrase, you said that you don't want to accuse anyone of being deliberate, but you're sorely tempted. When systems do not work, and when we are seeing that it is like, it's obvious, so why is this not working? When accountability is weak, I'm putting it to you, Chairman, that usually there is someone or entities that are benefiting by the parent function. Chairman, we will hear that a new person is in the post, maybe a new CEO, or we will hear that the practice has discontinued. And this Jumanji series of events, it is becoming even more bizarre and outlandish and outrageous with explanation. When we hold people accountable, what are the suite of action items that follow when we say this entity or these individuals are to be held accountable? 246 million. Where are the missing files? Maybe file 13? I don't know. But I want to call your attention to the brief, Chairman. It's not part 2 where we have note briefly that alarms me. It's not the part that says no documents were provided for 22 contracts. It's where it says we have not conducted an audit to determine the authenticity of the submitted documents. So I'm aligned with you, Chair, when you say we have to come back to this matter.
No, we have to. And that's why I asked the Auditor General, but she indicated her plate is full. But we have to come back because we don't even know how bad the problem is at this point in time. But I must tell you now, 6 years me I sit down in that chair. This is one of the worst. The worst. And I don't, as I said, I can't conclude corruption because I don't have enough evidence. But it smells bad. It stink. It stink. And understand, understand when our constituents go to university hospital or any hospital and them have to pay the fee and them call we as the MP for help, for pay the fee. Are them people listen to this, Are them people listen to this? And I say, when them go pay them tax, are this them tax dollars I do? And them can't go hospital and get an MRI or a CT scan? We will follow up. We will follow up. We will follow up. Because nothing can go so in a 2026. Document can't walk out of hospital. Fire, me not hear about fire. Me hear about flooding. I want to report on the flooding. But it cannot be so that you disappear 22 document can't find. Worth so much money? No, sir. Member Cuthbert Flynn, then Member Cousins.
Thank you, Chairman. I have 2 questions. I wanted to go back to the beginning where I think it was mentioned that there are 8 to 10 members. I'm curious as to who are, as far as UHII, who are those board members? Who are they made up of? The personnel on the board. The composition of the board.
You need the names of the individual?
No, not the name, but who are they comprised of? As far as the individuals, are there any medical doctors on the board? Are there just members of civil society? Who are the members? The composition.
Okay, so we do have some doctors on the Chief Medical Officer, Madam DeSesa, is on the board. Also, the Senior Director of Clinical Services is on the board also. And we have in attendance others, medical personnel who are on the board.
Sorry, if I might help. Those other persons not appointed by the Minister, the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, University Hospital, University of the West Indies, the Chief Medical Officer of Jamaica, the
Talk closer to the mic. Pull the mic closer.
The Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, University of the West Indies, the Chief Medical Officer, who just left here a while ago, the Financial Secretary, the Bursar of the University of the West Indies.
From which ministry?
We only have one Financial Secretary.
So it would be her
you want
appointee.
the medical people? Oh, okay. the chairman of the medical committee, University Hospital of the West Indies, and 4 members elected from time to time by the council of the University of the West Indies, of whom not more than one shall be a registered medical practitioner. And the minister appoints 8 members, and the 8 members that the minister appoints consist of the following: 3 persons resident in Jamaica, one of whom shall be a registered medical practitioner engaged in private practice, 1 registered medical practitioner appointed on the nomination of Jamaica Medical Association, and 4 persons of whom one at least shall be a woman appearing to the minister to be interested in social welfare generally, or in the welfare and aftercare of patients attending the hospital.
Okay, thank you for that. Let me go back to the audit findings as well. It states here contractors engaging without formal contracts. Do we know for what amount that these contractors were engaged without a formal contract? And and under what circumstance?
We don't have the information. What we do know is that some of them actually, based on the Auditor General's report, were actually engaged. And then after they have completed the work or near completion, the contracts were put in place. Signed contracts were put in place.
And do you know why that was? That a contract is not signed before the work began?
Or
is that a practice that is done, is that a practice that's done where you engage someone and you don't have them sign anything and they do the work and then you say, okay, what if?
That's a clear breach.
Yeah, because there are many things that could really happen.
Yes, clear breach of the procurement guideline.
Variations could happen.
Well, the fact is also that you will have a situation where a person is engaged and then after you would, I think the auditor pointed out, after is when you go to tender.
Well, the biggest risk to the government of Jamaica
it should never happen.
Is that you engage somebody, something go wrong with the contract.
But that's what I mean.
Can't be completed. You have nobody to hold accountable.
Right.
Because you have no contract.
Mm-hmm.
So if it works, the person could have done the thing incorrectly. They could have made an error. You have nobody to hold accountable.
And do we know how many? I also am curious. So approximately how many of these contractors were engaged without a contract? I think if you don't have that with you, we would love to get that information as well, to say there were 100 contractors that were engaged without a formal contract. I would want to know that.
Yes,
and the circumstances.
If you don't have that, we would need that as part of the report. The breakdown of the individual contractors, the service that they are providing, and the amounts that were paid.
Well, we will be able to provide what we can find and the information that is available that fits into that category, because I'm going to say to you that there may be circumstances where this has happened, but the information that we have in front of us is showing, otherwise.
But can I ask, and the CEO, the acting CEO may not be able to answer because you just went there, but what circumstances would give rise to contracts being awarded verbally, work completed, and then only when payment is to be made, a contract is signed?
Mr. Chairman, under no circumstances at all whatsoever should this happen. Under no circumstances, even in case of emergencies, there are procedures that deal with that. Under no circumstances, sir, should that happen.
All right. Member Cousins.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Chairman. So let's focus on the 51 contracts valuing $521 million, for which, based on the disclaimer provided by the ministry, that they have not conducted an audit to determine the authenticity. That is very interesting. Of the documents that for the 22 contracts that were submitted. Chairman, earlier, the CEO that 28 contract documents were submitted. No, were submitted, and 29 found 28 submitted. But there's one saying that is incomplete document submitted. What does that mean? Does that mean that you did not submit that one that was incomplete, or you submitted all 29 to the Auditor General?
No, we presented 28 for them to review. And as they said, they have not really done a full thing to give a report, but there was one that was found subsequent to them coming and reviewing those. And that is the one. So it's not an incomplete, it is that the file was found after they had finished looking at the 28 when they came.
Oh, so you're saying that in looking at the response here, saying incomplete documentation submitted, you're not saying that the documentation for the 20 that is the additional one that was found after was incomplete. You're saying that you did not complete the submission?
It did not submit.
Oh,
for them to review.
Okay, so you have a complete file then.
We have a file.
Okay.
We have a file.
All right, so
and we actually asked our internal audit department to just review it to see, what is there. But in terms of a full audit work, I don't believe they have done anything fully. And also the Auditor General, I don't know. She has said that she has not done a full audit of it, so she's unable to. Her team.
22 contracts that you provided the disclaimer for, saying that we have not conducted audit to determine the authenticity of submitted documents. No, for the 28, or rather 29. Did you ask your internal audit department to authenticate documents before you send them over to the Auditor General? Would that be a reasonable procedure to follow before you send them to the AG?
We did ask him to look at it, and he's here, so he could tell you what work exactly he did with respect to those 28.
Okay. Yeah, we'd love to hear.
Yes, sir. Mr. Internal Auditor.
Thank you, Chair. We did look at the 28 documents that were presented to us, Chair, and we can say with certainty they are authentic in relation to those documents, Chair.
Authentic, and just so we're clear about what authentic means that
they are original documents.
They're original documents.
Yes, Chair.
Okay. It still doesn't negate the need for an audit by the Auditor General of those contracts.
Chairman, I would even go there, because if the internal auditor is saying one thing here, and we have a document with a response from the ministry saying something else, then I don't know why would we even.
Hold on, I think the Auditor General wants to provide some clarity here.
To clarify, you're reading from the prompt.
Yeah.
Yes, and that prompt, that's a comment made by the Auditor General to say that the documents have been submitted, but we have not had an opportunity to do a review to determine the authenticity of the documents.
Thank you, Madam AG. When I'm looking at it, it's very
no. This is the AG's prompt.
Yeah. All right. So, am I to understand that unless the Director of Procurement returned in early 2026, we would not have found these additional 28 documents?
I cannot answer that, member. What we did was when he was returned, it was at that point, which is March 1, February the 2nd. As I said, I came in February. We looked at it and I said, look here, where is it? Where are the files? Go and find them. So as to whether they would have found them with or without him, I cannot say, but they were found.
And this procedure that was highlighted of filing cabinets being too full, so you have to move them to shelves in a room. That is totally unacceptable.
2 foot?
That's what was reported here earlier, that the filing cabinets, you have the procedure is when the filing cabinets are too full. You find a room with a shelf and put them some files on them.
It's not a find a room, member. It is a procedure that they have where it is in the filing cabinet. When the filing cabinet is full, they are placed in shelves, a room, a storeroom. And just to let you know that the problem with the flooding, we have fixed the roof and we have done some work to prevent the rush of water that was coming to the building. We have mitigated that. So we don't expect to have those
you have
problems.
been CEO, that has been done? Or before you came to the office of CEO?
It was since.
It was done prior to the CEO.
What was the date? What was the date of that repair of the documents of the building to prevent the flooding?
No, sorry. It was during Mr. Osin because I remember I could not go in there because of flooding.
So
you couldn't access it?
I could not go into even my former office because
Is it because of you were in another position?
Yes. So what had happened? The roof was leaking. So it was leaking in the filing area. It was also leaking in where my office was. So they had repaired it so I could go back in the office.
So you needed water boots and a raincoat.
Rain was falling in there.
Rain was falling inside.
So we repaired it this year.
There are videos of it.
So the files were in your office at the time when
Some
the rain fell?
files were in my office. At the time.
That's why we can't find the additional 28.
Some files were in my office. They were used in my office as a store.
To store the files. So it means the file them wet up then, and them just need to dry out.
I don't know, sir.
Well, that's the point I'm asking. So if rain was falling inside the building, the file them should have did it. Them just wet and need to dry. So is a 2 foot rod take them out of the building?
So these 28 files you found, where did you find them exactly?
They were
29 now, but where did you find 28 first and then 20?
Some were found in filing cabinets. And some were found in the area where they archives files. So
that's why they run out, because they were in filing cabinets. So the others you were saying were wet, that's why you can't find them.
I can't speak to that. Sir.
I see. Chairman, I think I yield because we have to get back to this issue again.
Mr. Chair, we did fix the roof, as I said, this year.
We won't have that again, but then we should be on the Go Gem portal, so you upload them electronically.
As of March 1, everything. Before that, more than those above million for a few months. But as of March 1, we have made it very clear and we are holding persons accountable if they don't. And as I said, it is 100%. It is not anything like below 1.5 that is not on. Everything, the mandate is everything. And the problems that are flooding should not reoccur, because we have done things to mitigate that by the roof and by putting in proper guttering to channel water in another area.
Thank you, Chair. I am a little bit baffled because I just want to kind of go back to the board members, I guess, because I hear esteemed names being called and positions, esteemed positions. How can you clarify how the board's was selected, and were the board aware, of most of the things that we're hearing or all the things that we're hearing?
I can't say that they were or they weren't. What I do know is that they ought to have monthly board meetings as a part of good governance. There is an audit committee of most boards, and the audit committees from the organizations that I've headed as CEO would report to the board on a monthly or a quarterly basis. So if that was being done at the University Hospital of the West Indies, then obviously if the audit reports, because I've spoken to the auditor, the audit manager there, I've had many discussions with him. I've seen his reports. I've sent them to me, and if these were reported to the board, then the board ought to have been concerned. That's all I'm prepared to say.
All right, members, I'm moving to key finding number 4, the misuse of the tax exempt status. I have a couple of questions on this. Could the university indicate how long this practice has existed where the university has used its tax exempt status to facilitate the importation of goods for private companies? That's the first question.
Mr. Chairman, we are only aware of the ones highlighted by the Auditor General and the dates as stated. I know that the Jamaica Customs is doing their investigation because in one of the instances highlighted by the Auditor General, the payments or the processing was not done by finance or the procurement department or anyone internally.
Yes. I'm about to ask the follow-up because Mrs. Cuthbert-Flynn looked at me and was about to say, what can go so? So can you elaborate on that?
Well, the one that did not come through the process, actually, we have gotten a report from Customs as the one of the 4 that the Auditor General highlighted. So we have gotten that report. They have stated just on Friday that the amount of duty that should have been paid, and I think the Auditor General also did an estimate or something, is approximately $10 million. But there is also penalties, and the penalties range from 500,000 at a minimum to 3 times the CI value, and the CI value is approximately 4 million. So it would be like 120 plus the 10, which is about 130 million would be the maximum that would be charged to us.
Can you state what I'm trying to understand? There was obviously a practice to facilitate some companies who seem to have had a relationship with the university, whether they were providing goods or services. At best, could say maybe it is an informal arrangement, right? My question is, what would have necessitated the university using its tax exempt status for these companies?
Mr. Chairman, I was not there, as you know.
I know.
I have spoken to different team members. They are not aware as to why, and therefore I am unable to say the reason why it was done. Because in as I said, in at least one case, they had no record. In others, as the Auditor General has highlighted, that the hospital paid for like a broker fee and other fees, but in one in particular, nothing was paid for, or it didn't go through even the any process at all. There's no record really of it. And it's not our goods. Based on the customs declaration, goods did not belong to the hospital and were not a part of the hospital assets. In more than one, you do have that happening in terms of not being ours. Ownership of is not.
You're
ours.
saying in more than one case that is the case?
Ownership is not ours. In fact, in none of the cases, even though in the case where we the crockery, we purchased it from the individual after the importation, and in the case of the garbage bins, we purchased those. But the other two cases, the asset was not purchased by us, even from a third part, a person who would have brought them in.
So in two cases, these were providers providing services to the university. The university facilitated using the tax exempt status to bring these things in, and then the university paid the same provider for the goods.
Yes.
So, all right.
Because we did not purchase the item, the item was not paid for overseas by the university.
So why, okay, so
yes, Chair.
So in a case like that, why wouldn't the university simply bring in the things on its own behalf?
I'm unable to say, Chair, why the hospital chose this route and not purchase the item themselves. I'm unable to say why. And none of the officers that are there were able to explain to me why.
Member Brown?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So the first question I want to ask on this particular issue as it relates to the misuse of the tax exempt status, the Auditor General in her findings said companies. Can you, because I think it is in your purview to name, and she mentioned private company 1, private company 2, private company 3, private company 4. Can you tell the committee, and that's my first question, what are the names of private company 1, private company 2, private company 3, private company 4?
I know that the Auditor General redacted the names.
I'm not directing the question to the Auditor General. I'm directing the question to you.
I'm answering,
Yes.
Member. And we know that the matter is under investigation.
The matter is under investigation for one company, and I'm going to get to that. So I'm asking.
It's under investigation for all, but only one. But in one case, and I
just want to hear the names of the companies.
I can give you the name of the one that the work has been completed by customs, and they have actually given us the report with the one name.
No, I don't think that is acceptable, because I don't know. Did you issue the name? Because the name came out there before the customs report, as far as I know. So I'm asking the university hospital, through you as a CEO, to provide the names. This has nothing to do with the investigation.
Do you know the names? Do you know the
Do you know the names of the 4 companies?
Do you know
I will seek guidance on releasing all the names, member, but I can share the name of the one that we have gotten the report of.
I'm not asking you for the name of the one, but because why is there secrecy around naming all the 4? And how come the country heard of this one long before customs and things would have gotten the information from the university hospital? So I'm just asking you here, what are the names? This is my question.
Do you know the names? Do you know the names?
Can you repeat that, member?
Do you know the names?
No, I am no.
Yes or no?
Now the question is the name of the 4 companies that benefited from the tax exempt status.
I know that the Integrity Commission has the file. The names, as would have been seen by the Auditor General, were seen by us also. But in terms of the completion of the investigation, one has
So
been completed.
are the investigations around the named company, which that name was in the public space for months? Were those companies?
We didn't release any names, We have not released any names even to this point.
Well, you're saying you know of one, and you can name one for investigations
based
complete.
on the report from the customs which I have here, I can state what customs have stated as being the one company.
What has customs stated without naming the company? What is the summary of the findings of customs' investigation in relation to that entity?
No, but I think, Chairman, before we go there, though, so the university is unable to name the 4 entities that have all benefited from the misuse as defined by the Auditor General's findings. Misuse of the tax exemption status. You can't name, you refuse to name. 'Cause I don't think the response about Integrity Commission prevents you from naming who those entities are.
Okay, let me just answer the chairman's question and I'll come to you. I'm just making sure I get the correct spelling of the names. All right, I'll get in that. But the chairman asked, what did they report from Customs State, right? Third-party verification from the name company with the assistance of the CEO of that company. That one, the goods were imported and these are the dialysis machines. One, the goods were imported by the company, the goods were paid for by the company, the value of the goods was verified by way of payment records received from the company, custody of the goods was verified to be that of the company, and the address, and that it was not, and the company confirmed that the goods were in fact imported for that company by the university. The name of the companies are Supreme Laundry Services, Willman's Sales.
What's that?
Willman's Sale, like Willman, WILLMAN, Sales, SALES. Scientific Medical Services, and Jack Den Limited.
Thank you very much, CEO. Chairman, I want to proceed now to, so what is clear is that the university hospital have been, whether or not this is to utilize my friend's good phrase earlier on, whether this is institutionalized, the CEO can't say whether the use of the tax exemption status is an institutionalized way of how the UE has been operating. But what is clear is that it is more than one company as named. Secondly, the responding to the Auditor General's finding, your letter, I believe both the Permanent Secretary's letter as well as your response was that the documents have been submitted to both the Jamaica Customs Agency as well as the just Jamaica Constabulary Force. Have all 4 instances, those 4 named companies, were those documents submitted for all 4?
We have given them copies of the document for all 4.
For all 4, okay. All right.
Based on what we have, as I said, there are instances where we would not have the documents because it was done outside of the hospital.
All right. So you're saying that you have now received the investigations that Customs have been undertaking, having received the 4 matters raised here by the Auditor General for the 4 companies. You have submitted all 4, but you have only received their reports on 1.
On 1.
So
the
country,
they have said that they will actually provide the penalties for that one, because what we have done, they have completed their assessment and determined that there was a 10 million due should have been paid for that one.
Yes.
And that they will provide us with the penalties, if any. Well, they said there's a minimum of 500, so there will be a penalty. They will provide that to us in short order, and the other reports will be provided to us in short order also.
Okay, so we will await that.
Yeah, as we say. So again, as the follow-up, the committee would need, once you have been given that information by Customs, the committee would like a report on what Customs has found in terms of its investigation into all 4 and whatever remedies they have recommended for those companies to deal with it. the specific breaches.
Okay, just to be clear, Chair, Customs has made it very clear to us that they have nothing to do with those companies. We are the ones, the hospital is the one who they are holding accountable to pay all charges and fines. As to where we will get the money from, it is.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, these companies didn't, it's your tax
Your
exemption
tax
that was
exempt
utilized.
status, that was it.
It is a hospital name that is on the importation documents, and therefore they are holding the importer as being
So
accountable.
that is why we want to understand, and that's why I probably have to come back, because it is not one company, it is four. And this is based on the findings from the AG, who, as she said, it's a minute subset or sample that was taken of the operators of the UE. So we don't know if, as my friend said, this is institutionalized or if it is systemic. So that is why, Chair, we have to come back to see. So this is just probably the tip of the iceberg. But I proceed. In terms of deep diving a little bit, and I know you sir, are here only since January. I'm looking at page 10 of the actual Auditor General 72-page report. And there are a couple of things that I want clarity on. And this is as it relates to private company 3. And it is also related to private company 4, because I see permeating through this misuse of the tax exempt. So I want to understand a buyback, right? There is this buying back. So you give them the tax exempt, and then they went and procured or brought the stuff in, and then we are buying it back. Well, not we, the University Hospital is buying it back, sometimes tenfold. So for example, waste bins for private company 4. It says here was valued at 6.6 million. The company saved 3 million by virtue of the tax exemption. So they paid roughly 3.6. But then the hospital bought back that from private company 4 for 11 million. So I just want to understand. I want to understand why, as the chairman would have asked earlier, why didn't you just utilize your tax exemption in the first instance to buy the thing? And why is this buyback about? There's also, I think, private company 3, cups and dishes, imported for 1.4 million, and then the UE buy it back again for 6.9. So the country has heard about, and there's been glorification and publication around one entity when there are 4 companies, when it's possible it has been institutionalized and the utilization of the tax exemption is a conventional practice between you and its partners. But this buyback, what it is about and who is benefiting, because it's 1.4 and then right back at 6.9. So this company, private company 4, has made 3 or 4 times profit. Private company 3 has made 10-fold profit. So I just want clarity on that, CEO, because it looks really bad, but perhaps there is some explanation to it that some of us can't really understand.
Based on what you have shared, member, it would have, based on what you have said and what Auditor General has stated, it is extremely bad. However, I cannot tell you why it was done.
Is there anybody else here who could tell us why?
I can tell you none of the senior leadership here or even in the hospital have been able to share or to say why it was just done.
Why are we buying back? Who is making money? What is this? And who? Yes.
Can we have a time limit?
I mean, we're not here for the entire member. Now, I'm asking all my pertinent questions, Member Cuthbert. No,
it's not critical. Member Cuthbert, we do have Parliament sitting at 2.
That's
and
right.
These issues have to be fully ventilated. And I'll give everybody an opportunity to talk. Everybody.
Yeah, so there's nobody who can help us with this buyback. to understand the rationale behind the buyback, and who are the beneficiaries?
The persons may purchase items and then sell the hospital and have their markup. And therefore, I only know. I don't know. I don't know
Who
the
authorized
reason.
these buybacks, though? You have no knowledge of who is within the university hospital who would have been authorizing these buybacks.
The matter, as I said, Chair, I have to be very careful because, as I said, this is before the police and also before customs and integrity commission. And Mr. Chair, I don't want to say reasons. I would prefer them with their investigative skills to do the assessment and make the determination through the due process, whether it be court or otherwise.
Well, all right, first I want to welcome, there are 49 students from Dunrobin Primary. Welcome to the Parliament of Jamaica. This is the Public Accounts Committee meeting. We are not going to have a sitting of the full Parliament, but you're welcome to continue to watch and observe in silence the proceedings of this committee. This committee is set up to deal with reports from our Auditor General, and our Auditor General is seated to my left, Mrs. Pamela Monroe Ellis, and we are examining an audit report done on the University Hospital of the West Indies. All right? Okay. So there's a queue, Frank, and you have some of your colleagues impatiently waiting, like Mrs. Cuthbert Flynn. Well, if somebody will release their mic to put you on, Frank.
You want to ask a question? Follow. You want to follow?
Just a follow. In relation to the cost, the buyback, can the Auditor General help us in terms of what you think, if you had done any check in relation to market value for those buyback, the market value for the items that were.
Somebody have to release the mic so I can turn on the AG's mic.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chairman. No, we did not do a check of market value. We spoke specifically to the CIF value, and the focus was really on the practice.
Why you turn off the mic? I think the concern members have is that having used the university hospital's tax exempt status improperly, the same company who benefited from that tax exemption turns around and sells back to the university at 3 or 4 times this, 10 times? 10 times the CIF value. So it is clear to us that this was a deliberate scheme to provide profit, undue profit for a particular entity. There's no other way to explain it than that. Where in this scenario, the university could have just directly bought the stuff for itself and brought it in.
But Chair, who approved it? That's the question.
So the CEO, again, we know you are new and acting, but would this use of the tax exempt status be something approved by the CEO at the time, the board? Where in the chain of authority would this have been done?
The authentication of the approval is something that is on investigation. The files have been sequestered, and therefore, Mr. Chair, in terms of ensuring that the accurate information is provided to you, I would want to wait to see the result of that investigation to make a statement as to who really approved, because that is being questioned.
It is being questioned who actually approved it.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not so sure that there's a question as to who approved. I have seen documentation to show the signature of one who would have that authority to approve.
And that was the case in all four?
Yes.
Okay.
No. In one case, I think at least one case, the person who signed the document had no such jurisdiction. In fact, he would have been separated from the university, I believe, some 2 years before that document was signed.
So are you suggesting then that that could have been forgery of that person's signature?
I would say, Mr. Chairman, that the signature appears to be that of the person who had left, who had the previous CEO, on one of the two documents. So there are two documents that would have been signed by the head of the entity. And one bear the signature of the former head, and one bear the signature, or appears to bear the signature of the current head. The authentication of those signatures is something that the police would have to do and determine whether, in fact, yes, this is the signature of the person. I'm not capable. I've never gotten any training in that area.
All right.
Thank you, Chairman. I want to kind of delve a little bit deeper in that. Can you name the company or companies that, when you mentioned about this particular document that was signed by someone who apparently had left the company, that was no longer the CEO? Can you name the company or the companies for those particular documents?
I know I have the document for one of those companies.
And which company is that?
The name of the company and that item is the same one related to the dialysis machines.
And which company is that?
That's Jack then.
That's Jack then. Is there a similarity? I want to find out.
There are two instances.
There are two instances where the signature appears and the person who supposedly had signed that.
One of the two signatures.
One of the two signatures, the person was no longer.
Yes. Appears to be the person who no longer works there.
So it was possibly forged. We don't know.
I don't know. That is why I've said that alleged. And I don't know. I can't. The police will have to determine that. Yes.
Are the four companies, do they have anything to do with the University of the West Indies Hospital? We know that Jack then provides janitorial services to the University of the West Indies. Are the other companies that were named in this, the other three companies, do they have any direct employment contract with the University of the West Indies?
Only one, Supreme Laundry.
And
we have done business with Scientific Medical because we buy things from them, and Wilman Sales also.
And let me ask the question. We went to, this is, important to me because I do understand that a number of Jamaicans die each year because they cannot get on a public dialysis machine. I've paid for a number of my constituents to go privately from West Rural St. Andrew to receive dialysis treatment because diabetes is a major non-communicable disease in the country. So when I hear that a company is possibly getting a buyback and making money from these dialysis machines, are they, since they were bought back?
No, sorry. I can't correct you. Those.
No buyback.
No.
So wait, you guys jump on this one, Farsi? Well, I'm trying to find out So those dialysis machines are where? Are they with the university or are they at the company, Jack, then?
As I shared by the customs said that the company stated that they were purchased by them and they are in their possession. We don't have them at
You
the
don't
hospital.
have them
No,
on.
absolutely. They never came to the hospital
What
based on our
about-
record.
We heard of furniture. Does that have anything to do with the university and purchase?
No furniture. It was dialysis machine and furniture.
So it's dialysis machine and furniture.
Those furniture did not come to the hospital. And based on the customs
Declaration.
based on the customs finding,
That was also not, you were not in possession of that either.
no. And they have given us the invoice with a list of items also here.
Okay.
Just for clarity, the furniture, based on your report from customs, did they benefit from a tax exempt status?
Yes, it's the dialysis. I just said dialysis because that's maybe the largest of the set, but there are signs, cash cart, wheelchair, scale, gloves, shelves. I mean, just various items are on the list, several items. And that is where the CIF value, the total of that invoice.
What benefit, if any, did the UHWI benefit from these dialysis machine? Is there an arrangement?
None that I'm aware of. And I've not seen or heard, and no member of the team have said of any stated anything like that happening. Nothing on record to show any benefit whatsoever.
So patients don't get any kind of benefits when they go to this place, reduced cost for dialysis?
I'm not aware of that. I don't know of that. I've never asked any patient to go there from the hospital. I don't know of the hospital sending any patient there.
What is procurement role in this buyback arrangement, buying back? What role does the procurement unit department play in the buyback arrangement between UHWI and these entities?
The procurement, Mr. Buckridge, can you just answer that? What role does the hospital play, the procurement department play in the importation of the garbage bins and the crockery?
And the buyback arrangement.
Yeah, those are the two instances.
Sorry,
somebody has
to release the mic so I can.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes.
The buyback arrangement is strange.
I would say I don't want to use the word buyback. It is that we paid for the items after they were imported using our tax exempt status.
I know, but it's the same thing we're saying.
I know, but I wouldn't want to use the. I'm not sure.
You don't want to use the terms.
Yes.
But what? All right. Your answer the question. Can I have a follow up? So answer the question first.
I know, for one instance, the procurement unit had received a purchase requisition along with a justification letter from the head of entity to procure the bins, was to procure the bins. So we got all documentation that we are to use the direct contracting or single source procurement methodology, justification and everything to procure this item.
What was the justification in this case? Is it a specialized bin?
Looking at it, I would not say it's a specialized bin.
Okay. So that's why we asked the justification, because the question I was going to ask, in all of these are direct, the two, what we call buyback or direct contracting methods. And I wanted to find out what was the justification for the direct contracting. And secondly, is it the practice? Has the university in the past bought these things for themselves directly, or is it always a situation where they are procured through a third party?
From my experience, we have always procured them through a third party.
And from your experience, has there been a case where we know of the four for this particular case, where the tax exempt status has been used in the past to facilitate this type of procurement?
Well, I can't speak to the tax exemption aspect of it because the procurement unit does not sign declaration or even C84. We're not in that process.
In doing the procurement, would you have an internal estimate based on your market survey as to what these things should cost?
Yes, we will get an internal estimate from the persons who are sending requests to us.
You would get an internal
we will get an estimated cost, because if you are sending a purchase requisition to buy a particular item, you normally will send an estimated cost based on your market research and so forth.
From the unit within the hospital?
Yes, yes.
Okay. And in this case, the age has indicated that one of these ended up being 10 times the CIF value. So my question would be, what would the internal estimate have said for the value of these bins? I assume these are bins that you put like needles and those things in, not garbage bins, right? Medical waste.
Medical waste.
Okay, so medical waste is something that is procured, right? So the question is, would you have an internal estimate as to what that should cost? And how would that match against paying 10 times the CIF value for it?
Well, we in procurement, we wouldn't be aware of what the CIF value is. What we do, if we receive an internal estimate from the custodian.
You don't question it? You don't check?
No. Let me tell you how the internal estimate plays a role in the procurement process. Internal estimate, and I can go far back to the budget, because once the budget is prepared, you would know, because you would have done your market research. You would have know what it is that if you want to procure a bottle, you would have an idea of what the bottle would cost to put in your budget. So that is where the internal estimate would come from. So once the request is received, the department will get an internal estimate. And once we go out and do the procurement, that whatever comes back, we will match it against what the internal estimate is to see if it is in line with the internal estimate. And if it is too high or too low, then we will ask the department to revisit their internal estimate if it is too high, or we will ensure that what the bidders are bidding, that they are bidding on apples for apples and not apples versus pear. So we'll do that type of comparison.
You know, there's a great coincidence that the internal estimate on at least 2 occasions is exactly what the bidder bid. Just seemed to be a great coincidence. Which is why direct contracting is so susceptible to corruption. I could just call it plain and straight. Where the internal estimate come from? The person who providing the service? Where it come from?
Mr. Chair.
You going to tell me in at least 2 occasions the provider's bid is the exact number of the internal estimate?
Can I just... Can I...
Dollars and cents.
Is
not even round up. Not even round down. Dollars and cents exactly, Frank.
Mr. Chairman, an internal estimate can also be determined by the department requesting it, where you have a sole importer, the sole dealer for a particular drug or something into the island, and they are the only one authorized to sell that item in the country.
In this case, these people
I'm
are
not
the
saying
only
in this
people.
case, I'm saying that it is possible for you to have the same exact thing and it is a sole source because they are the only one authorized to provide that particular drug.
The crockery
No,
people too?
I'm not saying in the case of crockery. No, not at all. Not at all. There wouldn't be
Just a
a
follow-up.
exclusive dealership wouldn't be.
Just a follow-up. Just curious. Why is it the UHWI wouldn't do direct purchasing of something like bins and crockery and cups and dishes? Is there a rationale behind not procuring it directly? Is there a rationale? Just curious.
We don't know why those decisions were taken. We only see that they were, but we don't know why they took them.
But procurement should know.
They were?
But wouldn't
Yes, we are in possession of the crockery.
But wouldn't a reason be given to procurement? Why is it that they are purchasing them from a third party instead of direct sourcing from UHWI? What is there has to be a rationale.
Well, the thing is, as I said, I don't know. I mean, items can be purchased because that is not where we focus our specialization in terms of certain goods and services that are provided. So we will purchase them. As to specific ones where you say, you want this particular item and where it is overseas and you could, as to why they chose to have someone else import and then we buy it from them, I don't know. I am not aware. And none of the senior members of staff are able to explain that to me.
It boggles my mind as if you get an internal estimate and it is provided to procurement, then from a procurement committee standpoint, I have certain procurement committees, and from a procurement committee standpoint, I'm going to question why not purchase this directly instead of giving somebody an exempt status and then buying it back. I think that is just waste of money, breakdown of procedures, lack of accountability. Somebody's benefiting, and we know who. We need to know who benefited from this breakdown. It is obvious. Mr. Chair, we need to know. The country needs to know. Somebody has benefited.
Yeah, I'm hoping that from the police investigation and that of the Integrity Commission and that of Customs, the country will be made aware of where the breakdown, where if any, took place.
Thank you. And somebody must be held accountable.
That is where Catherine Phibbs' committee, appointed by the board, will be looking at.
All right, somebody, you want to just use Currencia's mic? Yeah.
Just a quick follow-up. I just wanted to have an idea as to how the tax exemption is utilized. How is it normally used within the entity? How does it work?
The hospital is allowed to import items
on its own.
On its duty-free, on its own. That is what it is supposed to. It's supposed to be used in bringing in item for the sole purpose of use by the hospital. And that is where the declarations and so on would come into play. And if it is not, then that is where the breach is, and the customs actually went through that with me to say, this is a breach. Why there's a breach? Because we have confirmed that the items were not, and under the tax exempt status, it is supposed to be the sole use of the hospital for the sole use of the hospital, and they were not.
Member Morrison, then Member Cousins.
Thank you, Chair. And Member Hamilton, that question is an excellent precursor to where I'm going now. We're talking about the University Hospital misusing the tax exemption status. And in the case here, what are we looking at, Chairman? 4 companies? 4 companies on the radar here. And I just want, for persons in constituencies, maybe such as mine, who don't quite understand what is happening here, a simple breakdown: you have a company that can bring in, for my farming constituency, I would say tools, machete, hoe, fork. They can bring that into the country. What is it? With tax exemption. But there are other entities who sell the same thing or who use the same equipment. So then, that entity allows who has the tax exemption, who can bring in the machete, hoe, fork, whatever it is, free, then no tax. They allow other companies who don't have that exemption, who are obligated to pay the government tax, they allow them to bring it in. But this is where it gets bad. And this is in the case of 3 entities now, based on the information that we are gathering. Not only do they bring them in, they turn around and buy back the machete, buy back the hoe from the same entities who they allowed to benefit under the tax exemption, buy it back, and in some instances for 3 times the amount. Chair, my question is, can the PAC call on persons to answer even if after they have left the substantive post? Can the PAC summon persons to appear even after? Right? And I think it may have been Member Warmington, I don't know who, was saying that something maybe should be worked, maybe in the standing order constitution, where persons don't even have the option to say whether or not they want to attend, but they are made to appear to answer the question. Because in this case, with the new CEO, I think that, I won't say out of his depth, but we would certainly have benefited from individuals who were at the helm and who can answer these questions. But Chair, in the interim, I want us to consider whether or not persons who have left entities, department, critical position with a trail of serious breaches, should we now consider whether or not these persons should be engaged in prominent, critical government posts until, at the very least, the investigations have been completed? Thanks, Chair.
Well, to answer your first question, I would need to seek advice as this committee can do so. We respond to reports from the Auditor General. The accountable officer in this case is always the permanent secretary. We have the acting CEO. We know the individuals who would have done it at the time are no longer with the entity. But there are investigations which are ongoing, which frankly, whether they are at the entity or not, sanctions can be imposed on those individuals. Some of these matters are Integrity Commission, but some of them are Customs plus JCF. So that would not preclude whether somebody still works within the public sector. But I share your grief at what we're dealing with, because the same tax that we needed to collect is the same money we're paying to buy back the thing from the same people that we give a break to. It's bizarre. Absolutely bizarre. And what we don't know is how bad it is. We only know about 4. We don't know how far back it goes. We don't know how many companies have benefited from it. And the reason it existed, a hospital is a non-profit institution. And so it existed so the hospital could bring in things for the benefit of the hospital, but certainly not to bring it in for the benefit of a private supplier who marks it up 10 times and sell it back to the hospital. That is the flagrant abuse of it. Member Cousins.
Thank you, Chairman. My question is to the CEO or the PS. Anyone if you can answer. It's 2 questions. First one is that, let's for argument's sake say I want to purchase, so you want to purchase some bins now or some plates and crockery. What is the process now that entails? Walk me through the various phases.
Okay, so the need would have been identified, and then we will have to look at in terms of priorities because of the limited resources we have to determine what actually will take place, which one will be purchased. So if we say yes, we're going to purchase the bins, then what will happen is that they will do the necessary requirement, send that to determine, for instance, what is the estimated cost of those items, and send it to procurement. Procurement now must, regardless of the amount we have implemented, must provide or make an attempt to obtain 3 quotes, regardless of the value. So we have now moved away just from single sourcing, unless it is like they can say to me that this is exclusive dealership. They are required to get at least 3 or request on GoJet to try and get persons to quote.
Okay.
Those quotes will come in, and we will then assess them and make the necessary awarding, whether it goes first through the procurement committee or it comes straight to me.
All right, so thank you very much. So let's go back to the unit now that deals with the in-house estimate. When that unit is doing their estimate, they would need to be made aware then that these items would come in duty-free, tax exempted. Because if they provide you or the procurement department with an estimate that does not take into account the fact that the hospital is going to bring these in through a third party, duty-free, then that means that the estimate that the procurement department would receive would be erroneous.
Well, they would not be aware. They wouldn't be aware that this is what will happen to the person who is awarded. So that is not, as I said, this is a clear breach.
What I'm getting at, CEO, is that look at it from this point of view. Remember, the company is bringing in the item for CIF value of $1, duty-free, selling it back for $6, right? If your in-house estimate to the procurement department is $5 or $6, not telling them that, by the way, they're not going to pay any duty. So take that into account when you're doing an estimate. It simply means that the taxpayers of Jamaica would have been cheated because someone deliberately held back that information from the procurement department or from the unit that is generating the estimate, because the estimate cannot be generated in a vacuum.
Well,
you agree with me on that?
No. I want to make sure that there is a clear understanding. One is that the unit requesting the bins would have gotten an estimate from whoever for $10 for the bin. They would not know that that $10 is based on us, the University Hospital, assisting the person with bringing in the items duty-free or not. They only know that this is the price the person is quoting. The procurement department would then go ahead and process, because they too wouldn't know. Because based on, as I said, this thing is under investigation, but I'm telling you what it's supposed to be. They are not, because there is no such thing as the use of our tax exemption status. It should never be used by anyone in those manners. Never, ever. It's just not permitted, and it is not. It is a breach, a clear breach of guidelines.
Yes, CEO, I hear you, and I accept what you say. And I understand that this thing existed before you came into your substantive role, and that you have taken steps to address it. But the point I'm trying to make is that, obviously, Chairman, there's some collusion taking place between those who are doing the estimates, right? Or some misleading taking place, because you're not telling them who is doing the estimate, that this person is going to get a tax exemption. So somebody benefits somewhere down the line. outside of the company and whomever doing the estimate, or the procurement department, or probably somebody in that department that is doing the estimate. But something not right, it don't smell good, it don't look good.
Remember, I understand the basis for your rationale. However, I would want to leave it to the proper investigative trained bodies to do their work and then make that determination.
Members, I'm going to recommend that we stop at key finding number 4 because we are 4 hours in. Some people are signaling me that we haven't provided lunch. We would like to at least watch the game at 4 o'clock, but we'll have to come back. Yeah, man, Jamaica qualifying for the World Cup and we're going to beat DR Congo. But we're going to have to come back here, not next Monday, but not next Tuesday, not the Tuesday after the Easter break, but the following Tuesday in 2 weeks' time, because we can't complete this today. All right? So, Member Coupler, I'll take your final question, and then we break for today, and we come back in 2 weeks, and we pick up from key finding number 5, and then we go through the rest of the items. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman, for that. I just want to know when things are bought, like cups and saucers or whatever it is that's bought, bins, dialysis machine, is there nothing in place, accountability at UHII to say these things, then we receive them? Is there no accountability measure if money is spent and taxpayers' money is really wasted, as far as I'm concerned? Where accountability process, and going forward, what is now going to be put in place to make sure that this doesn't happen? Also, the certificate, how did they get hold of UHII's tax-exempt certificate? How?
Okay, so there are a couple of questions you're asking right there in one. I said one. Okay, so let's leave the last one first. The reality is that a document that Customs shared with us allegedly bears the signature of the CEO of the hospital. The previous and the current. In one case, it's the previous, and in one case, as I said, there are two documents that have to be signed by the head of entity. In one case, it was the previous CEO, and in the other case, it was the current CEO. Now, in terms of, so it is that on that basis why Customs would have treated it as a duty-free item coming in. Yes. In terms of the hospital obtaining or receiving the items and accounting for it, in the case where the item is purchased and all the processes related to the importation takes place outside of the knowledge of the finance department or the procurement department, those items would not have come through the channels, so that the hospital would not be aware of these items being imported, which is what the customs finding identified in the one that they have done. In the other instances, the procurement department would have sent in, they would have received the estimate, would have received the thing to purchase the item from this particular person, but based on our determination, the procurement department was not aware of any duty-free benefit that those importers would have benefited, or the person selling us would have benefited from. The company importing the item obviously would know that they are bringing it in under what circumstances they are bringing it in.
All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is longer than we normally go, but we're going to come back in 2 weeks' time to complete this. There are also some matters related to the Ministry of Health proper that we have to go through. But it's been a I'm trying to find the right term. Eye-opener, maybe mild, but disappointing that in 2026 that the issues that have arisen here are arising. And as we recognize, this is just an audit. It doesn't speak to the entire operations of this entity, but it raises concerns about how many other rogue entities within the public sector could be operating this way. And there's no other way I can put it but rogue, because these things are unbelievable in terms of what has happened here. So can I have a motion for adjournment by Morrison, seconded by Cuthbert Finn? Have a very good Easter, everybody, and we come back in 2 weeks' time.
Join the conversation focusing on Jamaica's development. Tune in to the post-cabinet press briefings, Wednesday live at 8 a.m. with a rebroadcast at 9 p.m. right here on PBCJ, the People's Station.
Public sector transformation is national policy. Tune in to PBCJ for the 4-part docuseries Building a Better Public Sector, starting Sunday, March 8th at 1 p.m. with a rebroadcast on Mondays at 9 p.m. Presented by the Transformation Implementation Unit.